Order, and I'm going to have everybody stand for the pledge. Tim, you can start us off.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we're going to have a public hearing, so motion to go into public hearing for 4:31. Is that what we did? For the public hearing, 4:31. Motion and a second. So you just want, no, it is a public comment, we have a public hearing. Okay? Okay, so a second on the public hearing.
Who made the motion?
Kelly and then Jen. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now, if you want to share what the public hearing is for the acceptance of the gift.
So there was a posted public hearing
Thank
to
you.
accept the gift from the Parent Teacher Association, and that has been postponed until September, but we had already posted our legal notice, so we're going to close that public hearing.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close it.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Great. Let's see, so we have a presentation tonight. I'm gonna ask the board, so we're gonna have A, B, and C, and then we're gonna table D and E, mainly because we haven't had our retreat yet, and we need to sit down and talk about all that paperwork that we got, because it's a lot of it. So we're gonna table D and E until our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna start, can I have a motion for that? And a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And I'm gonna ask the grade eight field trip presenter to come up, because we have been waiting to see you. It's been crazy.
Yes, that's me.
That's you, that's why I was saying, get you over to the podium. Come on up.
All right. Good evening.
Hi, Eva.
Thanks for welcoming us up here, or me. We recently came back from Washington, D.C. We had one of the most eventful, wonderful experiences of the entire school year. We visited the national monuments. We went to the Capitol. I think one of the best parts and the takeaways from this field trip was when strangers came up to us and told us how well behaved our children were and how respectful. We went to the Holocaust Museum, we saw the White House, and I think that every single 8th grader who participated in this event would have made everybody in here proud. We also had some staycationers stay home. They experienced also some wonderful end-of-year trips. They went to the zoo. I wasn't here, so I'm not fully apprised about what they were
Mini golf.
privy to. They did mini golf. They went to the movies. They went to the arcades. They had a great time. But again, we heard wonderful reports about their behavior and their respectfulness. So we thank the board for letting us take such a phenomenal trip outside New England. The bus ride was long and fun. We ended up coming back in here around 11 p.m. that night with the kids singing at the top of their lungs. So, and I think we had like 25 kids show up the next day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, good stuff. I just
thank
wanted to say, can I just say to you too, that for me personally, the 8th grade trip here, when I went to Washington, was just like the first big, we're free. And we got to be with the teachers and the parents. We had a lot of parents that were there too, on a whole different level, and I will never forget it. So I'm so grateful that it's back.
Well, it's
Thank
really
you.
fun. They weren't exactly, we're free. They were like, oh my gosh, we're in the big world. Please protect us. But we'd also like to thank Gorin's Fishing. They also welcomed us onto their boats. They gave us a phenomenal deal. They took the kids out to the Isles of Shoals. One of our past students was the captain of the boat, which a lot of our kids thought was really wonderful. And just again, this community in regards to supporting these 8th graders for their end of year trips is an amazing thing to be a part of. I'm grateful for it.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And then next on the agenda, we're going to have youth to youth presentation. Where are the kids? Oh, kids.
Yeah, so we had a long day today, a field day. I mean, I'm looking a hot mess, but no kids today.
Oh, okay.
They did present yesterday at the music hall in Portsmouth. We had our 11th annual Grand Youth Alliance Film Festival. We premiered our film. It's titled Watching. It highlights the dangers of alcohol use for adults and underage youth. One of our students, a sixth grader, Jacob DeLay, who is the hands in the film, not the feet. You'll understand what I mean when you watch it. It's not his feet, it's an adult's feet. It's our filmmaker. Anyway, Jacob DeLay courageously got on stage representing Seabrook, answered questions from the DJ, and he did a phenomenal job. At the end of our film festival, they shared that for the first year ever, the New Hampshire Film Festival that takes place in October opened up a youth category, and our film has been submitted for nomination to be in that film festival in October. So our students will
Awesome.
attend the statewide film festival, which is really super exciting that our film was chosen. So what you're going to watch is the film that we worked really hard on. You might have heard that we do popcorn sales, so that helps to pay for our film. Also, I want to thank Seacoast Youth Services because they donate money each year to support the big financial burden to create such a polished film that we have. So without further ado, enjoy.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
It is awesome.
All right, breakfast in, please.
Oh, okay, yeah. Hang tight. Hey, yes, hi, oh, hello.
Hey, listen, the reason I'm stopping you, you seem to be having a little bit of trouble staying in the lane and you hit the yellow line a couple times. Just want to make sure that everything's okay.
Oh, yeah, we're good. I'm just heading home with my kids, you know.
Okay, yeah, listen, don't expect your registration.
You know what, I couldn't find it.
Couldn't find it, okay. Where are you coming from?
You know, I was just at my sister's house, you know, with the kids, and just, you know, we're heading home now, we're getting ready to
Let's
going.
Any yellow wall line there? Because
Please hang tight, I'll be right back.
We'll be right back, okay?
Yeah.
Shut down. We'll go back down here. So listen, I think you may have had too much to drink.
Oh, you know, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you want some short sobriety test?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Okay, so you're refusing field sobriety?
Yeah, but,
So listen, because you're refusing, I don't have a choice, I have to place you in cuffs,
okay,
okay? So why don't we go to the backyard, I'm gonna have to put you in handcuffs.
okay,
It's not policy, so,
okay,
okay?
alright.
I'm gonna have you talk to my friend Ms. Corey while I introduce some information about today.
Hi kids, my name is Miss Poirier. I'm a social worker here at the police department. I've just called your dad and he's on his way to come pick you up. Before he gets here, would it be okay if we talk for a little bit about what happened wrong today?
Hey, so how was your date, girls?
It was fine. It was good.
What about you, bud?
Honey, seriously, you know how important this trip is, right? I need you to make sure that your brother and sister are in bed by 8 o'clock tonight. Can you handle that?
Got it.
Okay.
And no inviting anyone over, no parties, you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Thank you. I love you. Hi guys, love you, have a good time, okay? We'll see you tomorrow.
Love you.
Okay, be good?
Listen to your older sister, okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, guys, I gotta talk to you real quick, okay? So, I'm gonna have some friends over, not a big deal. I just want you to stay out of our way and watch a movie. We're gonna have fun, it's not anything big, you're gonna be fine, just relax. Alcohol use is a serious health problem in New Hampshire. Because alcohol is such a commonly used substance, many people believe that when youth drink, it is a normal rite of passage. Youth are always watching. When caregivers have favorable outlooks on alcohol use, and alcohol is readily available at home or in the community, underage youth are more likely to access alcohol.
Talk with young people, family members, and friends about the dangers of excessive alcohol use and underage drinking. You can influence their beliefs and attitudes toward alcohol use. Learn the risks, talk with your child, and remember, our youth are always watching. That's our other one.
I'm sorry, you've lost 3 turns.
Thank you for letting us share.
Thank you, that was
Thank
awesome.
you.
Have the kids seen this too? They've all seen it?
Students haven't yet. We sent it out to staff
Okay.
to share when they have time because end of the year.
Okay, well, maybe not the beginning of the year, right?
I can get it at the end.
All right, thank you, that was very good. Okay, audit review, you wanna come on up? You can have you wanna come and sit at the table?
Whatever works for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we, as you know, we have our annual audit. We hire a third-party auditor, Audit and Sanderson. And they come on site and review our financial documentation. They look at our policies, fiscal control measures, and then produce a annual financial report. So Mike Campo is the director at Logic and Sanderson, and he's here to kind of give a summary of what they do, how they conduct that audit, and then answer any questions that the board may have.
Yeah, so thank you for the introduction. My name is Mike Campo. I'm one of the directors at Plosick and Sanderson. There are currently 3 of us. I've been with Plosick for 20 years, and I've spent the entire 20 years working on governmental audits of all different sizes. I'm actually the town's partner in charge as well. So what I'll do is I'll start by running through my normal presentation that I give to all the boards I visit. And then if you have questions as I go through, please interrupt me. I don't mind. I'm happy to answer them. If I don't have the answer for you today, though, I'll get it for you. So to put in perspective, I've told you I've worked on these for 20 years. Currently, my client list is about 115 governmental agencies around the state of New Hampshire. So with that, I'm going to have you, if you have your audit report in front of you, I'm going to have you go to page 1. This is why you ultimately bring us in, an independent third party, to review your financial statements, and ultimately we're concluding, can you rely on the financial statements that are...
Sorry to interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
Is there, it's not attached here, Meredith? Do you have a copy?
It's been in the last couple minutes.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
not.
email it to
yeah.
you sent it up previously,
All right.
I'll send it to you right
Okay.
now.
So the reason you bring us in is that you have stakeholders who are looking at these financial statements and want to know, can we rely on them? So that you bring in an independent set of eyes who is specialized in this industry to basically review, as your business administrator had shared, your policies, your procedures, and ultimately your financial statements. We base our audit on a risk-based approach, and what that means is we come in, we review your internal controls, we review your financial statements, we review your meeting minutes, we look at a lot of different areas, we conduct interviews with various members of the entity, and we basically will then tailor your audit to what we feel the risk assessment is. Now, we have situations where, and it did not occur in this one, but where we start to get into the records and we say, our risk assessment isn't high enough, we need to go higher. We don't typically go lower. There still needs to always be a certain baseline of making sure we have a proper coverage. So, on page 1, in the second paragraph, there's the comment, financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position. What we're saying there is that if you're a third-party user of this financial statement, whether it's your public, whether it's the local lenders that you do business with, the state or the federal government, they can look at this and say, all right, we can rely on the numbers presented in here. An independent set of eyes have done the appropriate procedures in place to ensure that these numbers are fairly stated in all material respects. It's important to classify that in all material respects against perfect. We don't come in, it's not an absolute assurance. The cost to do that would be just too big, and honestly, at 115 of these a year, that's just my side of the sheet. My partner also has another 115. We just wouldn't have the bandwidth. So from there, I'm going to take you to page 20. I think, to me, this is the most important page in our report for boards. This is a quick review of how you performed as a school district, your revenue versus expenditures, against the estimated revenue and the appropriations that the voters approved. It also will show you a real quick change in your fund balance from prior year to current year, and that's always something that boards want to see. And I will qualify, the fund balance at the end of the year, I'm always asked, what's a good fund balance? And my response is always, it depends. I don't know the tone of your public. I don't know the objectives of your board. I can kind of gather some information through the review of the meeting minutes, but ultimately, I'm far from an expert to know what's the best fund balance at the end of the year or target fund balance for a board. With that, some things I do remind boards to keep in mind on is cash flow. You as a school district cannot go out and borrow short term. You can't, like the town of Seabrook can go out and get a tax anticipation note. Or if they're in the middle of a capital project, they can get a bond anticipation note. So you guys are constrained to your collections from the town in terms of the taxes coming in. So that's one thing, when you have fund balance, that does help you in terms of your cash flow. So even though you're not necessarily able to use it, it is there so that you know as bills come due, you're able to pay them. So that's one thing I do recommend to boards is as you're looking at your fund balance and the cash flow throughout the year, keep that in mind. If you know that the payments are due for the teachers at the end of June or middle of June for the balloon payments, do you have the cash on hand to make sure you have it? So that's something to keep in mind as you're establishing a fund balance policy. That's something that I recommend at least once every 3 to 5 years. A board should be looking at their policies. Fund balance is an important one, and say, what's our policy? What do we want to have retaining from year to year? And making sure that it's meeting your goals. You have to keep in mind that when you look at what your goals were, say in 2020, they're probably different today, and that's only 4 years ago. So you should be looking at them on a regular basis to make sure you're meeting the needs of your school district and meeting the expectations of your public as well. It's a lot easier to pass a budget with the public if they trust the school district. So there you see that you came into the year with 408 and you came out at 6,500. If you look at the instruction line alone, right under expenditures, you'll see that there's a substantial overage there. I wish I could say this was unique to Seabrook, but what we're finding is, particularly in the special ed line, that a lot of school districts are getting hit hard. They're getting hit hard, and again, this goes back to the fund balance concept that you want to make sure you're carrying enough for those days, those rainy days. I have 2 other school districts that are already projecting for 2024 that they're going to have a deficit. We haven't even started the fiscal year yet. That's the value that a quality business office provides to a school board, is that they're able to do this. I have other clients that they don't know until it's too late. They get into June and say, oh, we didn't know our fund balance was that. They don't have the type of business office that this client does or that your business office offers. I talk to your business officials probably a couple times a year on various matters. If something comes up, they've been told on multiple occasions, and they've taken us up on it, that if you have something come up that's unusual, we want to know. Let us know. We'd rather be talking you through it. We can't make management decisions. Remember, we're independent. But it at least gives us a chance to say, look, we haven't dealt with that, but this district has, or this entity has. So it ends up being a nice network. But you have the right people in place to be able to accomplish that. A lot of districts, and this is really sad, right now we just canceled an audit for next week because the finance director, who wasn't very strong to begin with, has given her resignation. She'll be gone on Thursday. And the audit was scheduled for Monday. So when I have the chance to speak to very good finance officers, I do. I take a lot of pleasure in that. I take pride in what I do. 20 years, I really respect my position in the equation in terms of my firm is providing validation to the voters, to the public, to the banking institutions, that the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. It sounds simple, but it's something we take a lot of pride in. We don't always get to say that. And to be able to say that with a clean opinion and speak so highly of your finance department, it is a pleasure, because I don't get to do it a lot. So with that, I can go into this report a lot. I don't know if you guys have looked at it. I will tell you I have a master's degree in governmental accountancy, and every new GASB pronouncement takes us further away from understandability. But I'm happy to discuss any parts of the report with you, or any other questions you might have.
So the report just came over by email. So what is the pleasure of the board? Would you like to take a chance to look at this, and then maybe have the presenter come back if needed? Or do you have some questions now? I haven't had a chance to really thoroughly.
So this was sent
I do have a
out
question.
2 months
You
ago.
do have a question? Oh, Kelly's got a question.
Go ahead.
When you do the audits, I'm not sure, I mean, I haven't asked this question. When you do the audits and there's applications for free lunches, do you guys look at all the documentation provided as well for those free lunch applications?
We follow the guidelines when it comes to auditing free and reduced meals that are laid out either by the state of New Hampshire as well as auditing requirements. We're very sensitive when it comes to any students' names. I think a lot of times we actually will retract the names to keep people independent, because I mean, we have a staff of nearly 30 people, and just with that there could be sensitive information related to a one-off. So yes, all that information is reviewed to make sure that it's completed properly, and we follow the professional guidelines on that area. But there is sensitivity for names.
So when you see the applications, there's always income verifications by the residents or whoever filled out the application attached to that?
Yes,
Okay.
All criteria is tested. That's something that if we find even a single instance of it, that would be brought to management's attention and included in the communications to both governance and management.
Yeah, okay.
Because a single instance, it's where it's the nature of it, it is important to, you know, there aren't isolated incidents there. It needs to be communicated.
Right.
Any questions on?
So when you have, again, when you do audits, do you usually see in other schools where there has maybe a system into place where they have, maybe approval systems for certain funds being used? Do you guys look over that stuff too?
Could you give me an example?
Like, so for example, if you have, just anything, you know, maybe just, maybe purchase orders, if they're put into, if purchase orders are created for large dollar amounts.
Yep.
Do you guys actually do the reviews of?
The compliance with the purchasing policy.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, first, in developing our risk assessment, what we do is we look at the policies and procedures in place. We will actually document the internal controls over, in your case, a purchase. And we will actually walk through at least one transaction to say, all right, is what we're being told being done in practice? Additionally, when it comes to expenditures, we do what we call a large and unusual test. So large is a dollar amount that we quantify and say anything above this amount in an opinion unit, we're going to review that invoice. And you have different opinion units. So you have your general fund, you have your food service, grants, and so on and so forth. They each have their own calculation based on the type of fund they are. From there, then, yes, your criteria for, all right, if the purchase order is required for a purchase of $1,000 or more, that's something that we do test. And if it doesn't, again, we bring that to management and governance and say, these were the incidents we found.
So I work for the town, so I know how you guys come in and you ask,
Sure.
just give like a certain amount, you know, can you pull this, this, and this? How do you determine when you come in each year which one you're gonna?
So the
turn
large,
towards?
so the large is going to be based on a dollar amount. The unusual, we actually rotate who picks it so that we're getting a pretty wide net spread. So if like, for example, if I'm somebody who's going to look at a certain target demographic of an invoice as unusual, we're making sure that next year somebody else is looking at it, so we're getting a different population. So we do take into consideration that. And honestly, unusual is auditor judgment.
Right, okay. So again, back to the invoices, if you have a large invoice and there are invoices attached to that purchase order, if you don't see, say for example, the invoices for, say, $8,000, and you just see dates, a date range with a dollar amount, would you, as an auditor, think to ask, okay, it says that there's services, maybe not itemized, but just a date range with this dollar amount, if you saw that as an auditor, what would you do?
So what we need to, our standard is persuasive audit evidence. So for example, you've been in the town with us before, we can't just take somebody's word that, oh yeah, you know, our payroll is below because that person was out here. We then need to take it a step forward and say, all right, show us the payroll numbers or something along that line. So if it's vague, we will ask for additional information to make sure that we get that persuasive audit evidence.
But if you were to see that, you would question, so in other words, as an
What
auditor.
you're telling me would not qualify as persuasive audit evidence.
Thank you.
So
So
no,
if you
we
were-
would ask for additional.
So if you were to be in a position of a board member, that I know this is irrelevant, but if you were to be in a position of a board member and you saw an invoice that was for $4,000 and it just said from March 1st to April 30th, $4,000 with a name, would you feel comfortable signing that, or would you say I probably need additional information?
If I'm in your seat, I'd probably ask for additional information.
Okay.
I would also go further and say, is the type of transaction you're talking about standard? You know, for example, in school districts, we bring in a lot of specialists who will give that type of thing. Should you develop an internal document that would suffice in terms of the criteria that you as the board are looking for?
Thank you.
Okay. That's good, that's helpful.
And just to clarify, Mike,
Sure.
so when we talk about approvals, it's standard for that to be internal approvals for different thresholds. What we've instituted here at Seabrook is the board approves any item above $2,500 that's unbudgeted. So that's a little different than typical
Sure.
processes in most school districts. Additionally, when it comes to, oh, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
What I would recommend is, based on what I'm hearing here, is the purchasing policy needs to be revisited and make sure that it's fitting the needs of what the board and management are looking to achieve. And then further on that, when you have situations that are becoming frequent in terms of there's a hesitation of the board member to look and review it, what can you do in the purchasing policy to make that consistent and repeatable?
I'm sorry, I remember what I was going to say. So when there is a question of an invoice in a manifest for like accounts payable, that typically, I think that's great practice to ask a question. We encourage our board to ask questions, but they're still required to approve the manifest. We can always pull that one invoice, that one check, and not pay it.
As long as you document it, yes, you can pull those transactions out.
But
I would have it put into the meeting minutes as well as further support that this item was, questioned and required further investigation.
So, but we don't want to hold up.
I wouldn't. I think that's a bad practice. Just with the nature of a school district versus a private business, a school district typically works on a billing cycle of every 2 weeks or every month, depending on what the format is. So as it is, a lot of vendors aren't thrilled to work with a school district or a town because of that. Where a private vendor, you get the invoice, you pay it off right away. So in that case, I would be hesitant to hold up an entire manifest. If it's one transaction, I would just document it within your meeting minutes. And then even on the manifest, identify this one has been selected for further review or whatever, however you want to word it.
Okay.
But I would make sure it's clear. Because again, we come in and we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the manifest and we're taking and tying, check payments and saying, this one's missing, what happened? Or this one cleared 3 months later, why? But if it's on the manifest, at least we have the breadcrumbs.
Right. Okay.
And just so that everyone's aware, we do a preliminary audit results presentation in October. So this past year, we went over the results October 10th. We also, once we get the final report, we include that on board docs. So on February 5th, that was included on board docs and presented to the board. Again, it was included on board docs on May 14th, the full financial report, and it's also on the website on sa21.org with all the other schools' audit reports. So if anyone's looking for this documentation, you can either find it on the website or on board docs, or of course, anyone that has any questions can always reach out to myself. I'd be happy to answer them.
So you actually presented to the board October and February, or it was just documented?
No.
Management.
No.
Okay, so have you ever presented to
This is
the
my
board?
first time in Seabrook.
Excellent. So I guess that's I had kind of asked for that too, because
Sure.
in Seabrook, at the town level, you come and you present. And I
Yep.
think it's good transparency to have you here with our business
Sure.
administrator and to let the people know, you know what, we're all paying attention. And so I really appreciate you coming. And I think,
Thank you for having me.
hopefully in future, it'll be yearly
Sure.
that we see you.
Yeah, just a couple questions you answered helped. So
Yes.
thank you.
Sure.
All right? Then
All right, thank
anything
you
else?
all.
Yeah, all right, well, thank you for coming. And I'm gonna, just do a little bit of cleanup here, so the next thing is public comment. I am going to make a little bit, I don't see a lot of people here though tonight. We're only gonna have 30 minutes, and as you can see, we're missing a couple board members tonight for unforeseen reasons. And I'm going to move to make a motion that we continue the 30 minutes for the public comment, but we make it 3 to 5 minutes per speaker so everybody gets a chance to speak. And if there's more time and everybody spoke, you can speak again within the 30 minutes. So that's a motion, and we can do that per policy, by the way, just so you know. So motion for that? And second?
I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor? Aye. Okay, with that said, we're gonna open public comment. If you just come up, state your name, and speak away. Anybody interested?
Hi, Laura Likovsky, kindergarten teacher. I'm also a resident of Seabrook and a former parent. My 2 children went through the school system. At the couple meetings ago, I think it might have been your last monthly meeting, you had decided to wait on discussing the discipline policy until you had your retreat. I have a few things that I'd like to say that I hope you will consider when you enter into a discussion about discipline in our schools. When you go to college to become a teacher, there is no such thing as Discipline 101 class. Teachers learn how to discipline children through experience, through professional readings, trainings, and workshops, and from people who have specialized training in the field, like our guidance counselors and behavior specialists and social workers. Best practices for handling discipline issues have changed over the years. Changes based on research, and also because there are now laws that specify that students cannot be isolated or secluded. Best practices change with time. We know that some of the old-fashioned ways of dealing with discipline issues are not necessarily acceptable today. As teachers, we experience a wide range of behaviors in our classrooms. Some of those behaviors can be easily managed or redirected. Other behaviors may be more complex, as in cases where students have a medical or mental health diagnosis or in a trauma-based background. Responses to behavior in these situations tend to be more complex and may not always be obvious to those not involved with the students and or the situation. There is something else to consider. If we want to see a positive impact on the behavior challenges in our schools, it needs to be a group effort. We need everyone on the same page, from the school board to the greater community who will support budgets. We need to continue to advocate for the positions of people in our schools who support these children, like our BCBAs, social workers, and guidance counselors. We also need more support from parents. We need families to reinforce the positive behaviors that we work so hard to instill in our students during the school day. Making good choices needs to be a constant message to children throughout their entire day. We want all of our children to be academically successful, and dysregulated behaviors have an impact on that. Behavior challenges that we face today are bigger and more complex than they were years ago. If you're going to be part of making decisions about discipline policies in our schools, I hope you will think about all of the people who play a critical role in navigating this important topic. I urge you to get the input of people who specialize in this important area, because policies and practices that were used back in the day are not in line with what we now know to be best practices. And please be mindful of the fact that we need the support of parents, because we, the teachers and administrators, are just one piece of the puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. Anybody?
Hi, Laura Carty. I just wanted to clarify, Maria, when you said you were going to skip some agenda items, you referred to them by letter, so could you just clarify which agenda
We
items?
actually am not skipping them. We're tabling them until the next meeting, and it's D and E. Yeah.
I don't have
I'm
an- we don't have
sorry, you don't
agendas,
have
so
an
we...
agenda. We
yeah.
need to make sure we have copies for you. It's lead and school improvement plan. Those
Okay.
are the two.
Okay.
And the next meeting, I will work hard to have copies, because I like everybody to have an agenda in hand.
Okay, thank you.
So you know what we're talking about.
Yeah, no, I personally,
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. I saw on the agenda that we were going to have the middle school improvement plan, and I was
Yeah.
really looking forward to
I'm
hearing it.
sorry you are, but I just want you to know we haven't had a chance to have our retreat yet with the administration and staff, so we want to kind of have that and then attack
And is that...
the improvements.
Okay, thank you.
I actually looked over that, and I actually think it's a good idea that we're tabling it, because
Yeah.
if, I know for myself, if I was personally to vote on it tonight, I wouldn't approve it. So I think it's better if we have the whole board, and that we have the retreat, so we can have an open discussion and all as a board, because it would be fair for the other board members.
Okay, can you just clarify for the public, because when you guys talk about a retreat, that's not a public meeting, that's something, and
It's a public
It
meeting.
is,
Oh,
but
it
it's
is.
a workshop type meeting, so that
Okay.
we can speak to one another in a different atmosphere and kind of see how things are going. But you can always sit and listen.
Okay, okay.
We don't have public comment that night, but you definitely can sit and listen.
Okay.
All right, it's kind of a low-key situation, so we can all get on.
And
the
is that
same
scheduled?
page. No, nope.
Okay. But
All right.
the plan is it'll happen.
I don't know, we'll let you know though, we have to get with the board and all of the administration and whoever else is gonna be involved, so.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
working on it. All right, and anybody else for public comment? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Erica. I am.
Erica, what's your last name?
Can we just leave it with an R? Because
Sure.
after the other meeting where someone actually went ahead and doxed me after my name was brought up several times,
They
I
what, dear?
prefer to keep my last name out of here.
We need your name though for residency and,
They have it. They know
yeah,
my name.
well,
They
I
can
know,
write
but
it
the
down.
community, to know who you are speaking.
They know who I am. And so do you guys, because I
I don't
was
know
the
you.
topic of the April 16th meeting,
I don't know.
despite not being there.
I don't know.
I am Erica. I am the preschool teacher who is currently on her 1-year leave of absence.
Hi, nice
Who-
to meet you.
You too, who was mentioned many, many, many times, to my surprise, because my name was not on the agenda, at that April 16th board meeting. So I came tonight so you all can look me in the eye as I talk about that disgusting invasion of my privacy and the releasing of confidential information by this board at that April 16th meeting, which I believe I am owed a public apology for. I've tried to speak out before today, but with all the changings of the meetings and the changing of the orders of the meetings last minute, just like all the council members who came to show up, I also have 2 small children, and I can't just schedule things on the fly, so this is the first chance I've had since April to come share my feelings with you all. After one of those meetings, you mentioned the reason this was done was because we have certain confidential things we have to discuss. And you specifically mentioned HIPAA, which I thought was very interesting that you specifically mentioned HIPAA when you said, almost like you may or may not have been spoken to about violating someone's medical right to privacy in the past, specifically on April 16th.
Can you clarify what she's talking about?
Yeah,
I'm so
I'm
confused.
lost.
Okay, well, I can keep going.
Can I just ask the superintendent to
Clarify what she's
chime
talking
in?
about.
Is this, I don't even know if the personnel or,
Erica's,
okay,
you're
I'm
in a public
new.
meeting,
Right, but you're aware of
Yeah,
what she's
but-
talking about, so can you
She's
clarify?
talking about the April 16th
Right.
meeting, I believe, when her name was mentioned in the public comment, and we wound up trying to shut down that conversation.
Has
I
she
watched
met
the
with
meeting
you?
a couple times.
Yes,
and I-
yes, I have.
You have met with the superintendent, so you were heard,
Oh, yeah.
and then you suggested she come to us
We didn't have
publicly?
any conversation about that.
Oh,
She's,
it's a personnel issue, I don't want it to be
It was a personnel
problem.
issue on April 16th when you talked about my contract and my medical leave in a public meeting. I believe
Is
you
that
are.
right, is that okay, Meredith?
she's making the choice to be here, it's her information, so if she's choosing to have this conversation publicly, that's her choice.
Okay.
Right, but you're a superintendent who's supposed to be protecting this board, and we're being accused of breaking
And you're the
HIPAA
board who
laws.
was supposed to be protecting your
The
staff
board's
member.
reputation isn't subject to purge.
Under the oath you took,
But I don't even know
as,
what you're talking about. I don't even know what she's talking about.
if you let me speak, and I'd like to reclaim that time that was just taken from me, if you let me speak, maybe it will become more clear. You all take an oath, RSA 42-1. You all take that oath to be a public official. That oath is for you to keep the confidentiality of the people you work with. There are punishments for violating those oaths. I'm sure you know them. But let's just say, I'll start here. I was very surprised to be bombarded on April 16th with message after message after phone call saying, I'm so happy you're coming back. And not only from staff members, but from Seabrook community members. And I had to sit there on the phone and be like, I have absolutely no idea what you were talking about. Because I did not even have a contract in my possession at that time. so there was nothing to be signed. I didn't have it. But yet, here we are at a board meeting talking about my signed contract. Well, besides that, you know, besides the text message, which was nice to know that people were happy that I was coming back, but no, I'd never received the contract, so I hopped on the live stream to find out what was going on at that meeting, and was appalled to hear how many times my name was mentioned, as well as confidential, contractual information being talked about me during the public meeting. And I do have some more specific examples of those occasions. What was most surprising to me was when a specific board member, who I may add, seems to be in close contact with my long-term sub, and has been seen on several occasions in the school parking lot with her, so a little suspicious there, tell people that the school board had not had any say in that yet. Who approved my long-term leave of absence? Was it Meredith? Or did I have to write a letter to the school board?
I'm not sure what you're talking about because Meredith is the one that told us that you were coming back.
Okay, but that didn't answer my question. My question
Okay,
is
what was
who
the question?
approved my long-term leave of absence?
She approves it and we okay, she gives recommendation and we approve it. But you just said a minute ago that there was a discussion about your contract and you didn't have a contract and you didn't even say you were coming back, but she's the one that told us you were in that meeting.
And I'm moving on from that now, and I'm asking,
Just want to clarify that.
and now I'm asking,
Yep.
who approved and signed off on the 1-year non-renewable contract for my long-term sub?
What is she talking?
I think,
Who gave us the contract?
can I just ask a question of Meredith? On the April 16th, you're saying meeting, was that the evening we did our renominations for the coming school year?
Previous meeting.
There was a previous meeting. In the previous meeting, was this staff member on that list for renomination?
She was.
Okay, but you didn't have a contract at the
No,
point you're
because
talking about.
It
I
had
was
to be
not
mailed
aware
to my
of that.
phone.
And for the record, I was the board member that was outside with my daughter, who's the nurse, and Andrea, and yes, I can say her name because she wouldn't care, was out there with my daughter and we were discussing me picking up my granddaughter the next day. So there's nothing suspicious about that.
Yep, it's all perception and how
Okay,
you
well,
look
We
at it.
do have
Sometimes-
kids in school, some of us.
Yeah, well, it's all perception, especially, you know, when parents were going on at that meeting saying, why is Andrea getting fired? Why are you not non-renewing? And not one of you once said it was because she was on a 1-year non-renewable contract. In fact, your exact words were, the school board hasn't had any say in that yet. It's all on YouTube. You can go back and look at it. So you're telling me you signed my 1-year leave of absence, you approved my long-term subs 1-year contract, but yet you knew nothing about that happening? Something's not connecting here. So which is it? Did you lie? Did you not know how to do your job?
I think, yeah, I'm not sure either, and I'm like, I came on in are you talking about March on that this happened, or?
I'm talking about what was said at April 16th.
Oh.
If you need a refresher, you can go watch the YouTube video
No,
that's still
I'm
posted.
fine, and the superintendent, to be honest with you, is the one that gives the names for renominations or not to the board. So, she just said she gave you the renomination, which is public.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking, again, about the renomination.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just referring back to the minutes because a lot of this I can't even recall and none of it is in the minutes that I can see, so.
I mean, again, you can go look on it, and 500 people have viewed it on YouTube and reached out to me. So you're more than welcome to do that, just like
Well,
everyone else
the
has.
board didn't violate any HIPAA because honestly, there was a GoFundMe all over the school website prior to this meeting. So it's not, no one gave us any information. Everything was out there, but none of that was discussed in the meeting. Nothing HIPAA violated on that meeting transpired. And as far as you finding stuff out, I'm not here to say who said what, but the next day in the school, there was personnel walking around asking other people if they had given out information about you.
Well, clearly someone
So-
did, because we had a
And
parent.
it wasn't this board, so
And
you
so,
may
wait.
want to redirect this to the correct people.
No, I am directing it to the correct
Well-
people because this parent got up here, questioned
Mhm.
my ability as an experienced educator based on what she perceived would be medical needs. I have never met this person in my life. There is no reason this person should know anything about why I was on leave of absence. There's
And she works in the school, correct?
5 other reasons for,
Does she work in the school?
apparently, she never
She
met me
does,
though.
and she doesn't work with us. So again, you need to address the people that work directly with her, and that would be their
Okay,
job.
I want to direct the one who was picked up on the hot mic saying, she's just talking, when Patrick tried to shut her down. That's the one I want to address. Yeah, she's just talking about my personal, medical, private
She was trying to, she was
information.
expressing her satisfaction with Ms. Andrea.
And you are encouraging her to continue to talk as she brings up the ability of me to do my job. Look at me. Do I look sickly?
No, not at all.
We never said you did.
Well, you let someone get up here, and again, instead of stopping her, like Patrick and Meredith did, you're whispering to each other.
Well, I just want you to
No,
know, if
you
I
don't.
recall, we actually had an attorney here.
What's
Wasn't
that?
our attorney here on April
Yeah.
16th? Yes, and
Yes,
I
he
know
was.
if there was something that he felt was going, he would have also spoke up, as well as you would have definitely stopped. Did you say excuse me, Chair, we need to stop this conversation? I don't recall it, I'm new at it. But I can tell you right now, we had our attorney here, and if there was anything that should not have been
She
being
did, and that's what
discussed, it
got
should
stopped.
not have been.
It definitely should not have been. It should have been stopped immediately. And again, this was a person who has never met me a day in my life.
Again, that's the people that are in the building during the day, so you have to take that up with personnel.
So your building.
Yep, our building.
So
Trust
what's
me,
being
we
done?
we don't know a lot of stuff that goes on in this building, I'm sorry, but we don't. And it all stems down to, we know.
But we do have the superintendent who is in charge of that, and if you spoke with her, hopefully there was some action taken on her part to make
Absolutely,
sure
and
that
I
doesn't happen
appreciate
again.
Meredith stepping in when she could,
She
because I could see by her face
overstepped.
how horrified she was.
Well, she oversees the staff.
She wasn't laughing, she wasn't making snarky comments to her neighbor, she was actually showing general concern. Patrick was actually showing some general concern. So, you know, I wish he was here so I could thank him for that,
Well,
because,
he can hear you, he's probably watching.
oh, thank you, Patrick, I appreciate it. So, you know, just moving on, we often hear complaints about behavior, lack of discipline, but you reject funding and staff input that can improve this problem based on conspiracy theories. Despite claiming to support teachers, you only support those that, that those are in line with your beliefs and reject the opinions of others. You claim we are being used, like during the payroll situation, but most of you are seasoned board members who at this point don't understand how payroll works. I think it's time for the town to look for board members who care enough to learn how to do their jobs. Otherwise, it means you were lying to make Evan look bad. There's no other way about it. You either didn't know what you were doing or you were lying. I feel so bad for this community under this leadership. I have loved this town for almost 8 years, treated these children like they were my own children. I have great relationships with the students and the families who have come through my door. I donated countless hours away from my own children so I could reach out to the classrooms, families, not only during the day, but at night. For those families who never get the chance to come in and see their child's classroom, I opened the classroom up at night. I was here 6 o'clock giving tours of my art museums. I let these parents in. They had access to me whenever they needed because I thought that was so important to involve the parents in their child's education, and their job should not be their barrier to that. But I can no longer work in such a chaotic environment with such spiteful and vindictive leadership. You may take a copy of this speech, Meredith. You can consider it my letter of resignation. I guarantee this is not going to be the last one you're getting. You want to run your own district. It's going to be really hard when you have no one left willing to teach it. This is a nature-wide teaching shortage. You know, teachers don't have to be scared anymore about walking out on their own because nobody wants to work in chaos, and this is chaos. So once again, I'm going to close reminding you of RSA 42.1, when school board is required to teach confidentiality of staff members, and that was not kept in the case. You know what the consequences is for that oath. You breach of discipline and punishment, so let's see you put your money where your mouth is. You broke your oath, own up to it, face the consequences. Once you do, I look forward to seeing who the town will elect in your place, as Seabrook really is an amazing community and they deserve better. They deserve much better than what they are getting.
We absolutely do, and I agree with you 100%.
So, Meredith, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand this over to you.
And thank you for that. Sorry that you're leaving.
Do we have an option?
Yes, we can
No, I'm asking
actually.
if we have one scheduled.
A non-public for tonight? Yes, we have non-public.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm not going anywhere.
So, anybody else that would like to speak? All right, we're coming up on our 30 minutes soon. We have a few more.
Hi, I'm Jess Karen. I live in town, Lighthouse Way. I just want, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I just want to kind of reiterate the ongoing concern around changes in agenda when we're meeting and the placement of public comment in meetings. As a single mom, it is very, very difficult for me to find time to get here. I have to work a pretty intense job to pay all my bills to make sure that my daughter has what she needs. So to hear even today on my way over here, I came here for a very specific reason, and yet again, that agenda item has been tabled. So I'm also just really emotionally charged and feeling very, very terrible for the person who just spoke before me. And so I just want to apologize for her that this is the kind of environment that our teachers are working in currently. And I really, really hope that the board fully heard what she was saying so that we can really prevent additional teachers who we really, really need from leaving this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Did you have something to say?
Can I say something?
Yes.
So I just want to say that obviously because we have personnel things that are confidential, I do want to say that I am sorry, Erica. I will say that there's a lot more to that situation, and it's not about Erica, but there has been a lot of talk in the school, and that situation we knew was going to take place tonight, and so did others, and well aware of that was the situation. So this is not surprising to us. This has been the talk for the last couple weeks that this was going to come about. There's other things coming down the road that we've been told due to that meeting that people are aware of. So just know, like I've said before, there's always more to what's going on
That we
and
can't share.
that we can't share. Please trust me when I say that.
And I agree.
When she said she has met with somebody, she has met with somebody.
And I just wanted to answer back with Jessica. I'm sorry, but we have had, I don't know if it's 8 or 9 meetings now since March. There was some very, very, very serious things that needed to be addressed that we cannot talk about. And I'm sorry to you, but I can tell you, this board is working as hard as they can to look forward to working with our administration and our staff and our parents to make this school the best school in the state of New Hampshire. And we're gonna start, and we're gonna do that. We just need you to be a little patient. Sorry if we inconvenience with the agendas. Sorry if we inconvenience by the numerous meetings we've been having. But we're trying to get to a place where we can really focus on the coming school year. And I'm sorry, again, that you came for a specific item that's gonna be pushed to the next meeting. But thank you for speaking. Okay, next.
Alyssa Dow again, I teach 6th grade language arts. I really believe that it's important that the school improvement plan be reviewed with the option of public comment. I don't think it should be saved for the retreat, because I think that people have a lot of information that they want to share regarding that, and it's disheartening to already hear that a member is like, yeah, I'm not going to sign off on that anyway. So if you're going to have a lot of things that you're going to, as you said, attack, then the public comment needs to happen so that we can weigh in on that. I think it's very unfair for you to talk about something and say, yeah, you don't get public comment. It's really disheartening to hear a fellow educator come up here and resign. Like that, It's heartbreaking. We're literally emotionally charged over here. No, it's not everybody. We don't know what's coming down the line, and knowing that things are coming down the line, I'm terrified that I'm gonna lose all of my colleagues. It's terrifying. It's terrifying and upsetting. It hurts morale. And I think transparency and discussion is what needs to happen. So if you're going to put the improvement plan on hold, please set another meeting so we can have public comment on it, please.
We absolutely will, and we have the full board, and it will be back on the agenda and for discussion, and thank you for speaking. Anybody else that would like to speak? And I think our 30 minutes is up, so I'm gonna close public comment. Yeah, do you need a motion for that, Meredith?
I think it opened at 5:05, so I think you technically still have a few minutes.
All right,
to
we
carry
got
on to the
another,
agenda items.
anybody else to speak? Come on up.
Just a quick
Help us
question. Hi,
fill in the
Lauren
30
McGrath.
Lauren.
I also too came just to kind of hear about a particular item, and I know you probably have to table it for a certain reason. I too have a very busy schedule. I now have to work on the other end until midnight now to make up this time. So I don't know if it's possible, like, I don't know if that's a last minute decision or if it's something that you can kind of give people like maybe a heads up ahead of time about, or I think maybe that might be some of the
Are you talking about the improvement plan?
yeah, I mean, I think people are interested in that. I know, I think a lot of people are probably interested in that. So I guess that would be just kind of like a question. I don't know if that's even possible, if you can give like more heads up or lead time, or just let people know ahead of time so you're not rushing from work trying to make this and trying to, rearrange certain schedules, I guess. Just kind of a request and, have the public also involved and
That is
being
key
aware.
right there. So what you just said with the public involved, and I just want to say this to you, we as a board, we're still drafting a survey for the administration. We're drafting for the staff members to be separate directly to the board. We are going to do one for the community members directly to the board, and we are going to spend whatever it takes this summer to get us all on the same playing field, and your input is key. I would love to see a meeting from the community to see exactly what it is that you would like to see.
Okay.
But we're getting there. It's only been a couple months, and we're trying to move what we can and at the same time fill everything we can and get everything going. So rest assured that we need you and every other community member to help us with this. And we want our school a better place to be for our kids all the way around.
Excellent. And obviously staff
And I
involved
apologize.
as well. Obviously input from the staff as well. is
Yes.
Key as well. And I know it was on the agenda item for tonight. It got tabled.
Yeah.
I guess, I assume you guys would let everyone know when it's going to be on the agenda item again. So
We will.
So,
We will, I
okay.
promise.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got about what do we have left, a minute? Meredith, are you counting over there?
So
What do we got?
from 5:05 to 5:35, we got a couple minutes, but as most boards do, you can carry on with your agenda until public comment closes and then you can come back.
Well, we got she wants to speak again, so go ahead.
Just one more thing. So
Sure.
I know you're going to say you're going to put on the agenda and give the heads up, but there's no heads up whether or not you're going to remove it from the agenda. So like, how do we
It's
know
not
if it's?
removed
I
yet,
mean,
it's
not
tabled.
remove. Excuse me. Table it for another meeting.
Right.
So how do we know? Because like, if everyone's showing up here for an agenda item, how do they know next time you're not going to push it off?
Well, that would be a board decision, and you'll see the agenda when it's posted.
But like at this meeting, was it posted that you were gonna?
No,
Scoop those?
we can't make those decisions prior to, we have to make decisions
So I think that's
sitting here at the
maybe what
table.
she might have been asking about.
She'll know when it's posted though, because it will be posted for the agenda.
But it can be posted, but then it can be delayed again?
It's privy to the board's decisions. I mean, I don't know when we're gonna get our retreat in again. I can't answer that to you right now, but I can tell you it is only tabled, which means it will be on the next agenda. That's it.
Next meeting is in August, I believe, right?
Depends when the retreat and everything is, so.
Well, we've got to schedule that retreat tonight.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have too many minutes, but we can try. Okay, and it is 1 minute. Go ahead.
Which means, does it drive 5?
No,
I don't
go
need
ahead, you have
5.
one, 30 minutes, but go ahead.
Thanks. At one of the previous school board meetings, I had spoken to the fact that a lot of the things get tabled, and the fact that you are, as a board, missing out on really important things.
Yes, would be good.
You missed out on the kids, reporting out. Tonight, I wasn't even fully aware that the 8th grade was on there, so I didn't have anything prepared about our trip.
Oh, you didn't?
Well, no, I didn't.
Okay.
Because I thought that we had withdrew that just because of time and all of the things that had been tabled previously. I'm going to echo what everybody here has said. A lot of us come here for specific reasons. I know that our staff has worked really hard on the school improvement plan. We had staff meetings, we had individual GMT time meetings. We were really excited to show you that we were on board with, you know, having people join us and making sure that this school is everything that we as a staff know that it can be, that you as a board are hoping that it can be, or seeing that it can be. And I'll just echo the fact that I think it is kind of disheartening that a lot of people from the community come here and they want to be a part of these conversations and they want to be able to give their input and they give up their time, and we know members of this community work so hard and have to beg, borrow, and steal for the time to get here. And then when they come here and things are so just sort of quickly, I don't want to say tabled because I know that they're not tabled, delayed to the point where I don't think a lot of staff will be able to participate over the summer. I know a lot of staff who will be out of country, out of state, out of reach during the summer, so they won't be able to participate in those really important conversations. And I think it's a detriment to be able to schedule these things in a timely way so that we are able, as a staff, as a public, as a community, to give our input on such hugely important things.
So I'm just gonna go let you know, we did get an email from a group of staff members, I don't know if it was 4 or 5, I can't remember off the top of my head, that asked if they could meet with the board in non-public, have some discussion. We since found out from legal that we cannot do that because it doesn't fall under the legal end of it. But however, because you reached out and asked to speak with us, they think legal said that's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. And I think we can set up a time. I think some of you may be here through a little bit of July for summer school or whatever you're here doing, but we're gonna work on this.
And with all due respect, I think you're talking about two separate things. I'm talking about, as a staff, being able to talk with the board in regards to the school improvement plan. I think what you're referring to is an entirely separate
It's
issue.
actually not. I don't mean to be making it separate. What I'm trying to say is that we're gonna take your input.
I was one of those 5. It's completely different. I'm speaking on behalf of staff.
Yeah.
My point is that as a staff, during the school day capacity, we all contributed to that SIP, to that school improvement plan.
Oh, good.
So when we
That's
come
good to
here and
know.
we want to speak to you about it, that's in a different capacity than the email that you're referring to.
Okay, because I remember your name was on it, I think, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, but that's,
Okay.
but that's an entirely different thing, Maria.
Okay.
You're talking about an entirely different request. My request to you is, as a staff member, asking you to maintain a little bit of fidelity to the agenda that's set so that we're able to participate in stuff that we really, really feel is important.
So Rebecca, so I do want to say that I did do a lot of research on the school improvement plan. I did print out a lot of stuff over the weekend. So this board did have all intentions of going over it. It must be disappointing to show up and want to talk about things and then when you get here, it be tabled.
Thank you.
One member couldn't, and I'm not making excuses, I'm being honest.
No.
One member couldn't get someone to fill a shift. We found that out last week. Another member, things come up.
And life
Someone
happens.
who would never in a million years,
100%.
who was devastated that she couldn't be here because we wanted to address this. When I made a comment that I probably wouldn't approve it anyway, it wasn't in a way of, I just want to approve it anyway. It was because there was something in here that we have said for the last 6 to 8 months that we personally feel, as each one of us in the board have mentioned one time or another, that we felt that the kids being so behind and the middle school being so behind for so many years, that this time period in the morning, which is 20 to 25 minutes every single day, that we could have actually done something maybe a little bit more beneficial.
Are you talking about that advisory?
Advisory.
Can I speak really quickly to that?
Yeah, you can.
During that time period, one of the greatest parts about that entire time period is that we have I'm speaking from an 8th grade perspective, of course, and from a 4th grade and a 3rd grade and a 2nd grade perspective, of course, as well. We have one of the best parts about that 25 minutes is we have Mission Kid to Kid come,
I wanted to talk about that too, because we have.
Yeah, which is why this is such a worthwhile conversation.
But we've never been told that.
Oh, it's
We have
wonderful.
no
You should
idea
come
what
and
that
check
is.
it out.
They came and presented, they came and
It-
presented.
I know,
Mission-
but we didn't know that they come to advisory.
They
every-
do. That's the only time that Winnicott allows them to be able to come.
Oh, those are the students, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah,
All right, I looked at
exactly.
Mission and Mission too, and there's a
That is
couple
such a
things.
worthwhile time for those
Okay.
kids, just if I'm speaking to that one component alone,
Yeah.
just being able to have those kids come and speak and let them like ask the questions for Winnicott that are so pressing, but they won't ask us because, you know, we're weird grown-ups.
Yeah.
Um,
So maybe that's something that they could carve in for the 8th graders, like once a month, you know, I'm
well, they
just.
come for the 3rd and 4th graders too, so it's like just that little bit of time, and granted, I know that you've seen the middle school life, not every single kid is in here right at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So having that little bit of a buffer for those kids who might have to get their younger kids on the bus, that's really great because then they don't miss on academic time either. But these are all such valuable conversations about the SIP in general. So my point is just like, when you have those agenda points set, we're so excited to talk about it.
So maybe someone, maybe, you know, again, maybe it's different in the 8th grade, I don't know. I'm just, you know, we hear from parents, I have kids, they have kids,
Yeah.
I have kids. And we hear, you know, again, every class is different. You know, what may be very, very productive in your class
100%.
may not be in another class.
Right.
You know what I mean? So maybe it is a good thing to keep into place, but maybe just have it a little bit monitored so it's more structured in every class. I don't know, but it would be unfair for me to say, as one board member, to take this out without everybody being here and having their input.
And Kelly, I think it's entirely realistic. I think it's entirely realistic to want your whole board present when there's such a huge conversation to take place.
Yeah, and I think the start, you know, maybe I'm not referring to either board member right now because there's been times I haven't been able to be here.
Sure.
But maybe down the road, we need to put something into place that if we schedule a meeting, you know, obviously if someone's sick, but if we schedule a meeting, we need to make sure we're all here. And if we don't, then there's gotta be, you know, we gotta have a better attendance.
Especially if you can just label a couple of those items on your agenda as like untouchables.
Yep.
Like
And
the SES principal report, the SMS principal report, because there were so many other great things that happened that you weren't able, like the school drama club just had their production. It was wonderful. It was so great. We had such a turnout. We had to pull out extra chairs.
I know, I felt that.
No, gosh, but you know what? It was
I
so
haven't-
appreciated that you reached out to the directors and let us know that you had a family obligation. So we appreciated that so much. But just like, that's the stuff we want you to hear.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that we want you to see that's happening in our school. And when you don't get a chance to hear that, not only do we feel really bad and downtrodden that you don't get to hear it, but we miss out on the community getting to hear it as well. So thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now to close public comment at 5:43. Okay.
Oh, make a motion.
Yep. Yep. We don't need it, right? We just close it at 5:43. Okay, now, let's see, moving on to the agenda. We have the approval of the minutes. Do you want me to do them individual?
You can only approve.
At May 10th?
May 10th you can approve, and
Yeah.
May 30th you can approve. The others you don't have a quorum for if people were
Oh,
at the meeting.
okay. So May 10th and May 30th to approve the minutes.
So I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Kelly making a motion.
She
Jen
did. Jen second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we'll we'll table those B and C. Is it B and C for the next meeting? Because we have to.
14th and the 20th, yeah.
Okay? Okay. And then, on the reports, is there anything particular that anybody has a question about in any of the reports? Have you read them, and can we move on?
Maria,
Yes.
you mind if I just touch on Bill's
Not at
facilities
all.
real quick, just to let you know? There is a blockage in one of the boys' bathrooms in the middle school that's gonna result in some pretty serious plumbing work that needs to occur.
Okay.
So just want you to be aware one of our bathrooms are closed for the remainder of the school year.
Okay.
And that will be an expense that's over $2,500. However, we do budget $42,000 for plumbing and electrical repairs.
You have the
but
money.
Just want you to be aware of that.
Okay. So do you need something from us tonight?
No, just letting you know.
Okay, all right, well, thank you for the heads up.
Are you tabling reports? Is that what I hear you saying?
No, dear, no, not
Okay.
tabling, just
All
if
right.
anybody has any questions to ask away.
Are
and
we
if they
still gonna
don't-
speak?
Oh, you can,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted a clarification on that.
and maybe someone can read the
Yeah,
one from David
go
Hobbs
ahead.
too, because he does say at the bottom.
Oh, Dave,
Does someone want to read David Hobbs?
I don't have it pulled up.
Okay, I can do it when you're ready, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Meredith can do it, it's just about, is it him saying goodbye, I just think we should hear that.
Okay, so, do you wanna, go ahead, Colleen, and then we'll go over to the superintendent.
You wanna go first?
Yeah, I'd be happy to go first. I'll be quick. It's been a very, very busy month of June. Jam-packed, we've had a lot going on, and, but all good stuff. So I've picked a few things to identify, otherwise I probably could have picked 100 things to talk about. But a couple of big things in June, aside from all the fun end-of-year events. We've made some improvements to our building safety and security. Specifically, we have a software program that we're using that is scanning IDs for visitors coming in. It keeps their information in our system. So the first time you check in, it might take a few minutes, but once you're in our system, you're in our system. But it gives all visitors a badge, a sticker badge that has their ID picture right on there and their reason for visiting, their time in, time out kind of thing. So in an effort to just make sure our building's as secure as possible, we are using that software, and we got it up and running a little quicker than I think we had anticipated to, but I wanted to just shout out Miss Kim Welch at our front office for doing that. And as we all know, it's not always easy to learn new software on the fly, but she truly values the safety of our students and has just been extreme help in getting that up and running. In addition to that, we've wrapped up our spring assessments, and so we're still, as data is coming in, we're compiling that, putting that into our spreadsheets to look at as a team, so that we can really make good decisions moving forward for next year about the decisions we're making around academics and everything else. And as summer approaches, in my report I have a little information about our summer reading initiative. So Michael Gautreaux, our SES librarian, is going to be continuing checking books out over the summer, which we're really excited about. For any kids that aren't participating in any of the summer programs, they can still read plenty of books. As we all know, summer reading is extremely important, so we'll be pushing that all summer long. And so that is the gist of my report. I have a few photos in there, just capturing some of the fun events going on, but
So the kids can come in during the summer and sign up books?
yes.
Yes.
Awesome, excellent.
So didn't we have a thing during COVID, or am I thinking of some, where they could go on, well, I mean, I know that they won't have their Chromebooks at home, but wasn't there a subscription online where the school had books online and they could take them out over the Chromebook? Am I?
It was free during COVID.
But they don't have it
Yeah,
anymore?
right.
All right, but that's good that, so
Yeah.
it's during summer school, they can just come in.
Town
Yeah.
libraries generally do.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They have that app. So it would be obviously during summer, they come to the front door, just get checked in with their parents and go, oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, so I'll send out more details. I'll work with Michael to send out more details around the specifics of times and all the ins and outs of what that will look like exactly, but that's the plan.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. And Colleen?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Tim and shout out to him because we had fourth grade parent meeting to help bridge that transition between fourth and fifth grade, and it was standing room only. We had staff come, they volunteered their time, we had the nurse, we had the curriculum director, we had food services. They were able to ask us questions so that they understood, you know, this is what a middle school looks like. It's very different when you're in elementary school. They also had a visit, they got to tour the classroom, so I feel like that was value added, and you know, next year we're always going to look to improve that, so thank you to everyone that helped support that. We did it last Tuesday night. Status scores will be finalized in June, and then we'll have a deep dive in looking at the data, like which students had interventions, which interventions were effective, and then kind of start the year off in August with staff of who are the groups of students that aren't making progress, and what are we gonna do as a school to support them? So that will be ongoing work for the team during the summer, and then turnkey that to the teachers. Today, we had a guest speaker, Katie Preston, who is a Holocaust survivor. She's 86 years old. She lives in New Hampshire. It was powerful, powerful presentation. Our 7th and 8th graders were able to attend that because they did go to the Holocaust display in Boston. You could have heard a pin drop. And the questions they asked her were just next level. She's pretty transparent, and basically at the end of the day, she said, you know, be nice to each other, be kind, treat each other well. And I couldn't have ended the year on a more positive note, despite the situation she went through. Congratulations to Mr. Woolley. I did the weekly communication before, ahead of time, and then of course Friday night I get the little text that they won, so it's not embedded. I did send an email out today. The Great East Festival, of course, won a gold. 5th and 6th grade band won a silver. 7th and 8th grade band won a gold. I was going to plug the 8th grade play, but Ms. Sherborne already did that. They were very nervous about kids learning their lines in a little window, and they knocked it out of the park. It was joyful, and we have lots of great things coming. Thanks to you for your support of me since October, and we will continue to do what's right for students on behalf of Seabrook School and community.
You made something pop up. 8:30 in the morning is the breakfast, correct? For the 8th grade?
8:30 to 9:30, I just sent an email for the parent breakfast, grade 8. The board is obviously invited. There'll be some good food. Parents should arrive at 5:30. The students should arrive at 5:30 tomorrow night. It's going to be a beautiful night, and the ceremony begins sharp at 6. I told students, if you're not there, we're starting without you. So at 6 o'clock will be our promotion ceremony. We're really excited. We have some great awards. And the 4 tickets, and I'm going to send an email after this meeting because I've already gotten 5 emails. The 4 tickets, you have 4 tickets, you can bring your whole extended family. The 4 tickets are 4 seats because we only have 300 chairs. You want to bring 10 people, bring 10. You want to bring 8 people, bring 8. You want to bring 2. So a lot of parents are already emailing me during the meeting, 4 tickets. You said it's unlimited, but we don't have enough chairs because we have graduates, then we have the staff, we have a school board, and then there's only so many chairs at Seabrook. So 300 people can sit, the rest of you can stand.
And the other, just a quick, the DARE graduation is tomorrow too.
Yes.
Parents are not, they don't attend that anymore. They said since COVID, they haven't done the attendance for parents.
No? I didn't know that.
Okay, so maybe moving forward,
We
we
can
can
change
do
that
it again for next year, right? All right, so yes, tomorrow is a big day.
We're looking forward to it.
All right, sounds good.
Parents can bring their own chairs.
Parents can bring their own chairs. I did tell one more.
Kelly said she'll go rent the center and bring
No, I'm
extra.
working on the hall. I can make stand from the town hall, drop them off.
We can get chairs, you need chairs?
So,
Well, that's a Peter thing. That's not
yeah,
top of my pay
yeah, we
grade.
don't need, so is it gonna be, is it gonna be the same place as last year around
It's
the
in the
sun?
back.
Yeah, okay. I think looks good.
Not next year.
Next year, no? Talk to us.
Inside.
Good, because the bugs are bad out there.
So I hear.
They are, but that's okay.
Oh,
We'll use bug spray.
But not tomorrow.
Lots of fun, Kelly.
It's okay.
Okay, well, it's exciting. Congratulations a little early to that class and all the teachers that made it happen along the
They
way.
had a perfect practice today.
All right.
We told them, the yearbook is here, and when your practice is over, you'll get it, so.
All right.
Great.
But to say the diploma's here and if you're good, then you
Yeah,
can
I'll
go.
say that tomorrow.
All right.
Okay, any other questions or input on the reports?
The public meeting, the public announcement that we had at the beginning of the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
that was a donation, was that a donation that was tabled?
Yeah. Correct.
But that,
Asked
right,
for it
but-
to be tabled.
okay, I just wanna make it clear that we didn't table that, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Right, okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay. Could we have, Meredith read
I think so.
that Mr. Hobbs wrote a letter to the,
Well, he wrote at the bottom.
to the, and his report to the community? If you could read that for him?
The whole thing or just the last paragraph?
Whatever you like.
Whatever
Yeah,
you
it's fine.
feel is good.
The new beginnings for him, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we should mention something about him.
So Dr. Hobbs just wrote, as I transition from my role at SAU 21, I want to extend my deepest gratitude for 16 incredible years of collaboration and support. Your unwavering commitment and shared dedication have been instrumental in our collective success and personal growth. Together we've navigated challenges, celebrated achievements, and fostered a vibrant and innovative educational environment. Thank you for being an integral part of this journey and for the countless memories and lessons that will continue to inspire me. I wish you all continued success and fulfillment in the years to come.
And just for all who may or may not know, Mr. Hobbs is a assistant superintendent, specifying in curriculum and instruction and assessment reporting, and he has moved on to something different. Alrighty, so is there any other comments in the reports? No? Okay, continuing business. I wanted to add something because it's not on here, the logo. We had spoke about the logo, the elementary school, and we're not really sure how this happened. The logo changed from the Ram to the Wave, and I couldn't find anything in the minutes or anything of where the board did that or had it to the community, so we had spoke with the superintendent about having that corrected. And I am speaking about it because I think it's really important before we change something that we have had predates way before me, as what our logo for our school is, that is a big conversation and not something that somebody should have just said, well, we're going to change it to the Wave in the middle of the sea and the brook. So with that said, because it's sitting there, do you want it on the next agenda, or is it something that we can ask the superintendent to please change that up on the
We
letterhead?
already had conversations that started after the meeting when you brought it up, and it was addressed with Brian. I don't think there's been time to redo all the websites. It's probably a good summer
Alright.
time.
Yeah, it's on some things, it's not. I mean,
Yeah,
my
it's
board
con-
report had this, but I think ultimately it came as a decision, and I could be wrong because I was not part of that decision,
Okay.
but there was a lot of different letterheads, is the way it was explained to me, and so that was created, I think, over the summer with Brian and some teachers, but yeah, as it stands now, that's an easy change.
You're fixing it up, it's on your report.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
All right,
Try
well,
it.
thank you. I
So we
just
don't
wanna
need to
make
make a
sure.
motion for that, it's just
No.
something that can be switched.
Yeah,
around.
because that would probably cause, maybe it's something to get everybody here though, but
Yeah.
it would probably cause a big packed school. Because people, we're all Rams and we know it from years and years ago. So I appreciate, Tim, you taking the initiative to help with that.
Thank you.
And policies first read.
Yes, these have been continued since February, I think. There are 18 of them. 2 are recommended for withdrawal. These were reviewed by the policy committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Is there any reason they were held from February? Does anybody
Because we
know?
tabled them a couple.
I wasn't here, but I'm asking if the board, if there was reason.
So I think the reason we tabled them in February is because we knew we had a new board coming.
Right, okay.
I did look through some of them.
Do you want to continue them and make sure no one else has questions because it was tabled?
So I do have a question about the sealed minutes. I don't see any, I do see the difference. It doesn't look like it's anything concerning. If anything, it looks like, I guess my question is that what is the reason for changing it? Because I didn't really see what the difference was other than,
So in the notes from NHSBA,
yeah,
it was changed because there was a change to the state law that
Okay.
requires that minutes be reviewed. When you seal minutes, you have to specify a specific amount of time for which you're sealing them.
right.
And they have to be reviewed at a minimum every 10 years. That was a change to the law, and so the policy changed as a result.
And that's it.
That's it.
And the the board made appointed delegate authority to review, that was taken out. So now the board has to be the one to approve for them.
That's correct. It's a board decision.
It used to be like the chair would appoint the superintendent.
Yeah, no,
So that
none of that.
Okay,
I
so-
think the whole board needs to be on board with whatever those policies are.
And then the other one that I noticed was the insurance program that we're taking away. Was that the piece of paper that the parents signed stating that they have insurance, and if they didn't, then they could purchase it from the school? Or is that something different?
That is likely what it was. Years ago, the school would offer the ability for student insurance, however,
Right.
carriers are no longer offering that, so
Yeah.
it's been a number of years where we haven't offered.
So if a student doesn't, so say if a student doesn't have health insurance and they're injured on, that has nothing to do with if a student is injured on school
No,
grounds,
so-
because the school would, that's different, that's like,
Right, so we still have our property and liability insurance for any school activity
Mhm.
where they would be covered under.
okay, so this is just like a health insurance.
It was an option to purchase an individual low-cost insurance plan for during the school day, but that has not been available in at least 5 years.
Okay.
Due to some changes in state law, the insurance carriers stopped doing that.
Okay, and then the family physician report of physical examination.
It's just the form. We don't use that form, we use the form in Power School, so it's a different place.
Okay, so I do have a question. This probably has nothing to do with it, but there were some concerns that the nurses were being asked to take, I just want to ask if this has anything to do with it. The nurses were being asked to take pictures of children with injuries, and there was concerns whether or not, do we do that if the parents are, with the parents' consent or without the parents' consent? This has nothing to do with that, right? Like the form that we're using doesn't replace this because it includes a picture?
That's correct.
Yeah, I'm just asking. No, I'm just,
Yeah.
okay, so this form,
About
okay.
your annual
Okay.
physical or
Okay. All right, I'm okay. I don't have a problem with these.
Okay, so we'll make a motion for the first.
Oh, wait,
read.
no,
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
I know what I had a problem with, the class size.
Oh,
We were concerned about the class size.
yes, this was on here as a
Yes.
separate request, but Seabrook hasn't provided any updated numbers, so this would be the opportunity to do that.
Right. So I do know, Jen, you recall this, right, in the meeting? I'm sorry, Maria, you weren't here. So what it was is that prior to you and Lacey, I don't remember if Patrick, I think Patrick was in the conversation, but I do know that we were concerned about the student classes being the number of students per class. We wanted to decrease that.
Right.
Because it was allowing for too many students. And we were also concerned about, along the way, cutting teachers because the enrollment seemed to be dropping, even though during the year we have a lot more kids coming in. So the enrollment definitely doesn't drop. So we were concerned that if we didn't drop, that if we continued with the 20 to 25 students, with all of the, with students having, you know, in the need of extra help, and we felt that, because we looked at the other schools too, and those class sizes are bigger than what they have, if I recall.
so moving to 25 students per classroom?
No, that's what
Because I
it
do
is.
not want to
No.
do that.
No, that's
I
what
mean,
it is.
that would be,
Nope, so
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we had discussed.
Okay,
So it was K through 2 was 20 students per class, and then the 3 through 8 was 25 students per class. We were honestly looking at 16 to 17, and then approval after that, if any additional students.
yeah.
And I'll tell you why. When we had the 25 students for 3 to 8th grade, when it came budget time, and the enrollment was starting to look like it was gonna drop, even though during the year they end up coming back in anyway, well, not those students, but other ones. There was discussion on that's why we could cut teachers, and I'm not gonna lie to you, we were concerned that if we didn't decrease the class sizes, that if we got up to 25 students, with already kids having a hard time in classrooms staying focused, that we would probably be looking at a lot more test scores dropping. If we made the classes smaller.
Yeah, Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know if you guys wanna vote on a number, or if you wanna wait for the other board members, but that was why we put it back on the agenda, because the other schools don't have.
It needs to be decided now.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's a
think,
first reading, so
Right.
you would need to suggest what you want for
Right.
guidelines. That was discussed with the policy committee and.
Yeah.
yeah,
so it's
I
not
like
really
what she said, the 16,
Well, Lacey was there, right?
yeah, Lacey was there.
Yeah, I don't think
I'd like
they
to get
just,
one for her.
No,
Yeah.
the other districts didn't change theirs.
they
did their
didn't,
own.
theirs are smaller anyway, but they,
No.
some of them, but they didn't change theirs, so this wasn't at the meeting, this was something we pulled when I
No,
covered
okay,
for
I gotcha.
you that time,
Yeah.
remember?
Okay,
So I would have to make a motion then, and then it would be considered at the next meeting, correct?
No, you don't need a
No,
motion,
you
just a
would
suggestion.
say-
Okay, so then I suggest 15 to 16, 16 students, do 16 students for grades 3 to 8, and then approval of anything over?
What are you doing in K2?
Approval of K,
Yeah, I know, I was thinking, I mean, that's 20 students per class, I mean, that's not too bad, I guess, but what are your thoughts?
So we're
K
going
through 2.
20 for K2 and 16 for 3 to 8?
How many are currently?
Yeah, how many do we
Yeah,
have
what
per
is that?
class?
Eighth grade right now.
What's that?
78.
Yeah, the 78 graduating, right?
Right on that cusp.
So that's under 20.
Under 20.
under 20 in the elementary side?
No, starting off.
No, yeah.
Do we have an elementary teacher in here? We do.
Okay.
What, Lauren?
All of your class sizes are under 20.
They are, all of them.
That's what I'm asking, they're under 20?
They are.
69 in kindergarten.
Okay,
Mine is high because we just got a student, but 18. Typically we, so 15 or 16.
15 or 16 is kind of the typical target in kindergarten.
okay.
But it can go up to 25.
It can up to 20.
Can it go up to 20?
It can go to 20 right now.
20.
The policy reads 20.
Do you,
So I don't know if you want to change
do
that.
you want the same, Tim?
No, we currently don't have an issue with class sizes at this moment. We have, with 4 teachers in every class, we do have exactly what they're saying, anywhere between 15 to 20, but 19 and 18 being the highest. I don't think we've hit 20 in my 2 years being here.
But are you asking to
That's a
decrease
lot.
that number of 20 to 17?
Yes.
Would you
Okay.
like, yeah,
So
would
I was
that
trying to
be
clarify
okay?
I just would,
what we have.
I would just suggest the board pause, take a look at your actual numbers
Yeah.
and maybe some history of those numbers so that you're looking at parameters, so that you're also not putting yourself in a position where you potentially have to add 5 teachers in the next budget cycle, because we're gonna be coming out of a default budget already. I think you need to slow down, get some information, and come back and take another look at it.
So for the next, this was just a suggestion anyways, we're not, this isn't a final. This is just what we were thinking, so you'll bring back the numbers, the principals will bring back the numbers and then have a more,
I can give you
yeah.
some,
But I definitely, I can tell you, as a suggestion, I will not agree with 25 kids to a classroom, that is brutal.
again, that's your guideline in the policy, but you don't have any classes that are that size.
Well, we could on any given day,
So,
right? It could
but I mean,
change.
so potentially,
That's
I
terrible.
think my concern is potentially we have a lot of enrollment right now, preschool and kindergarten. And from what I hear, there's more enrollment coming. So those kids eventually are gonna, if they're in Seabrook already, then they're gonna end up in 3 to 8th grade. So there is, I mean, how many?
Right now, we're down to classes from 80 in 8th grade to down to in the low 60s, right, in 3rd grade and below, or mid 60s.
Yep.
Oh my gosh,
And I
it's
misspoke.
76. Yeah, we had 78 in 2020, I know that, so it's been about the same.
But it's not moving forward.
No.
Alright, so this is first read conversation. Next read, you'll have the numbers for us so we can really see the concrete impact.
So I would say the K through 2nd, we can probably keep it 20, but definitely 3 to 8. Maybe we can discuss 17 or 18, but with numbers coming to us, we can have a better understanding. And I definitely think 25. That's a lot,
That is a
especially
lot.
as they get into, I couldn't imagine being in 7th and 6th and 5th grade with 25.
There's enough going on
Right.
already.
Okay.
That would not be
All right,
good.
so that's something, that was the other one that I was concerned about.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we'll just move on the second read at the next, meeting. Do we need a motion or we good?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're gonna keep the change of class for school assignment investment trust. I think we should probably talk about that too at some point.
I was wondering, can you clarify the change in classroom, like if the does that
That's for
mean
the
if,
students.
yeah, does that
Yeah.
mean if the teacher decides that they need a change, in a classroom, that they can't shuffle kids?
No, this
No.
is state
Oh.
law, it's been state law for
Okay.
a long time.
'Cause I don't wanna take that away.
Change like every year, and so the policy is reflecting those changes to the law.
Cause sometimes that happens, they need to change around.
Well, no, this is if a student wants to go to the other district, to another district.
Okay,
The policy we've discussed several times.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, and none of us have agreed to it.
It's
Okay.
the law.
I know it's the law.
okay. So do you have some, so, from my understanding with state law, you can, it's state law, but we can strengthen it or curtail it as long as it falls within the guidelines to the different districts privy to whatever they wanna add to it. You just can't take away from it. So if you want to strengthen it, I think we can.
So if it's in green, that means it's being added by the state law? Is that what it means?
Well, I can look in the policy.
Because it says reassignment, so what changed was a reassignment on the basis of the best interest of the student shall be limited. That's the one I'm reading. To no longer than the end of the insuring year and shall be subject to review by the superintendent prior to any subsequent school year to
So
determine.
what has changed in the law, under number 3 at the top, is that it used to have, you could only reassign students to public schools, but the state legislature voted to allow students to be reassigned to private schools. So those changes are reflected in the law at taxpayer expense. And then
Wow.
down below, the reassignment process is done at the superintendent level. And those decisions now, the other change to the law is that those have to be reviewed annually. Under manifest educational hardship, the additions, again, are related to entering non-public schools as part of the law, and the annual review.
Yeah, because that's new, because before we could
Correct.
go into other public schools with the criteria, but now it's private included also.
That's correct, that changed
Wow.
last June under state law.
So if private school is, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, is 20,000 a year, 20,000 more than what our student, average is, we have to come out with that difference to that private school.
If there is a reassignment or manifest educational hardship determination by a board.
So, you know, that is all the more reason we need to really, really work hard, because I know myself, I've had a lot of people reaching out saying they have interviews at, private schools, and they're looking at other public schools, so we really, we need to work hard to fix things here, because people are leaving with their kids, and I don't want them to.
Okay. So I still am unsure. It says review, appeal, the decision of the superintendent shall be the final. Any appeal shall be limited to the process set forth in section B below. So where I see that's in green, that was added? Is that added? I guess I'm asking why it's in green. Does that mean it's been added?
Yes.
Who added that? Was it a state decision or was it added by the?
New Hampshire School Board Association, based on the changes to the law.
So it's recommended. it's not
Recommended, but do we
mandated.
have to, what I'm saying is that, does that have to be the policy? Or if we were to remove that, are we not, is it not legal?
So we can,
I guess I'm
reach
trying
out
to find
and
out,
ask that.
no, she should be able to tell us whether or not this is something that has to be in there by law.
Again, it's nice to have questions ahead of time, because I can't be an expert on all of the state laws in any given meeting, but I'm happy to research that for you and bring back that information. It's been, again, sitting for a couple of months, and this is the first question, so I'm happy to bring that back to you for the next meeting, but there's always been, it's always been the case that a superintendent's reassignment decision is final, but a parent can appeal under the manifest educational hardship piece, which is the second part of the policy.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it's always been the superintendent, but you're not saying that's the law? is what I'm trying to find out.
Correct, I don't know
Okay,
the
that's
answer
what I
to
wanted to
that,
know.
Kelly, is
Okay, I'm
what
just
I'm saying.
asking.
I'm not saying
I'm
whether
just
I
asking.
know or don't know.
Because it doesn't mean it has to be in our policy if it's not a law, that's the only reason why I'm asking.
Right, and I'll reach out to the New Hampshire School Board Association, they're just a phone call away, and they're pretty good about answering things, so we can come together for the next conversation, because that's a big one.
Well, it's been an issue, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it is, and if we don't, what I think, and when I look at it, I don't want to take a parent's right away to appeal to the board in any policy, no, and I'm just saying that, but that's why I wanna make sure that that is, where it should be and needs to be, so, all right, that's a little bit more conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else on policy, that's it?
That's it.
And then we have the IDEA consolidated application for a grant, if everybody's had a chance to look at it. I had asked Meredith what the date is for the approval for that, and she said it was no later than June 30th. So if the board has had a chance, we have two that have not had a chance to speak, and I just want to see what the board wants to do with that, if we want to.
Just to be clear, this is based on a preliminary allocation, we don't yet have our final allocation, we have to submit a plan for spending to the state as a best guess of how we would utilize those funds. There are two positions, staff positions, teacher positions carried in your grant budget, that was written into your operating budget when you approved it, that we would carry two positions in the grant. So if it's not approved, you're gonna have to find funding for those two positions elsewhere.
And what positions?
Two special education teacher positions.
Is that elementary or middle?
I think it specifies.
I'm still on the
Yeah,
Broad range.
I have to look back, there's two specific positions that are budgeted.
Oh, is that the one at the bottom now where it says if Title I?
So it's not the Title I, but it's similar.
But it
to
says
that
at the
where we
bottom.
put it at the bottom, so.
It says no.
This isn't Title I, but it's similar to that where we say.
Oh, IDA grants, okay, I remember, it says subject to IDA grant, availability, right?
Well, it says we plan to use.
Yep.
So one,
I remember it,
Elementary.
so one's elementary.
mhm.
Is it a new position for the middle school?
No.
What is this?
Oh, thank you. It's a position that was carried in ESSER and was moved into the IDEA grant for the board's approval.
Meredith, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said the other position
Yeah.
was carried in ESSER when you added that case management position 3 years ago, and was proposed to be moved into the operating budget.
And it was not, right?
It moved into the IDEA grant.
Right, so it was a position that was supported through the ESSER,
So
and the
now it's going
ESSER's
to
ran
IDEA.
out, right?
Right.
Okay. So it won't be a new position in the budget, or it will be, but it will be under the IDA instead of the
So it's
ESSER?
not in the, it won't be in the operating budget,
Yeah.
it'll be in the IDA grant, and it's not a new position, it was just funded by ESSER instead of IDEA. So we're just shifting from ESSER to IDEA.
And what position was that again, did you already tell us?
Special
is
education
special ed?
teacher,
Okay. Alright, well, we can't cut on those anyway, because we need that.
Yeah. So,
I can make a
You
motion
guys-
if you guys are good with it.
yeah,
Can I just do it in both motions to approve?
yeah,
The former ESSER grant into the IDA consolidated application. No?
No, I think you just wanna move to approve the
Charge?
IDEA consolidated application as presented.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
that's
you,
it. So there's a motion and
And
a
I'll
second.
second what Jen said matters.
All right, and all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay? So that's good. And then the approval of expenditures, Matt, did you have anything?
Yeah, I do. So, as you're aware, we did have a roof replacement project on tap for this summer. That's on the middle school side. That project is coming over slightly budget at $5,621.76. So we do need the board approval because that's over the $2,500 threshold.
Okay.
What was that
So,
again?
for the roof?
Yeah, make approve, I
Yeah,
make a
make a
motion to
motion.
approve the funding for the roof.
Second?
I will second.
All in favor? Aye.
And I do wanna revisit the donation, policy too.
Okay. Do you wanna, where we're under the donation policy? Okay. Do you want that, to talk about that now, or?
No, I just want,
Okay.
it's gonna be.
For
one
next,
job.
okay, perfect.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry, do you have a question about the donation policy?
There's a lot, it looks like there's a lot that was added in, so I just think that everyone should be here to,
So just so you're aware, the biggest change to that policy is that the state law changed. So the thresholds of the donation have gone up. So previously, the state required that any donation $5,000 or higher need a public hearing.
Yeah.
That law has changed to $20,000.
Okay.
So it's helpful because we need 10 days to publish a legal notice for a public hearing. But you still need to approve any donation, no matter what,
well,
as long as
it says a lot more than that. It says the superintendent may accept gifts subject to the terms of this policy in the amount of $2,500 or less. But it's not just for donations to the school, it's donations, the school was taken out, so I just think that everyone should read over it.
But I was just
Yeah.
stating that the biggest change are the thresholds.
Yeah. All right,
But
thank
if you have
you.
any other questions, please feel free to email me and I
I
can
will.
get you the information prior to next meeting.
Okay. All right, moving on to new business, acceptance of gift from the,
So there was a donation from Citizens Org to raise education PT, and that's in the amount of $937.14. Those funds were earmarked to be used for bus transportation for the 7th grade trip to Oswich exhibit in Boston. So thank you to Citizens Org.
Make a motion to accept the gift from Citizens Org to raise education PTO.
second? All in favor? Aye. And moving on to the next one is the audit questionnaire.
Yes, the other questionnaire. So we had a little preview from Mike Campo, from Plunsick and Sanderson, but on an annual basis, we do bring in Plunsick and Sanderson as a third-party auditor. They come on site to review all of our purchase orders, our invoices, all of our financial documents, as well as policies, fiscal control measures, and then they complete a financial report that includes any type of findings or recommendations. And as part of this process, they do a survey for various stakeholder groups, and the school board being one of those major stakeholder groups, as you are the ones that are responsible for approving all of our expenditures, both on the accounts payable and payroll. So I have included the questionnaire from last year. I emailed this to you earlier, which includes the answers that were submitted from last year. And at this point in time, if you have any changes, then please let me know and I'll mark that on the questionnaire if you have different answers. And then once that's finalized, I will submit it to the board chair for approval via DocuSign.
Okay, So I'm not sure if this is something we have to amend, make a motion again, but I think there was some misunderstanding, and I'm not, you know, you guys can reflect on this if I'm wrong. I think there was some misunderstanding when we did the purchase order motion. When we did the motion for the approvals of anything over 2,500, I think that the motion was made, and tell me if you guys disagree, that the understanding was that anything that was over $2,500 from the date that the motion was made, which I believe was in April or March 19th, was it? It was one of those meetings, I can early on. That would mean that anything over 2,500 would be approved, even if the purchase order was in place. And the reason I say this is because if a purchase order, so I'm just going to use this for an example. For an example, if there's a purchase order created at the town hall on January 1st, and this was my mind frame, that if a purchase order is created in January 1st of 2024, and there is a motion made in, say, March, let's say it was for no overtime or no purchasing of supplies or a hiring freeze, that wouldn't mean that that motion applies to anything at that date going forward. That would mean that if that purchase order was created for $90,000 on January 1st, that would mean that the approval off of that purchase order would still need approval. Because if you have, say, 15 purchase orders that are created prior to the motion, then there's really no point in making the motion until the following year because you have all those purchase orders already open. Am I correct?
Well, purchase order is a legally binding contract, so once we enter into a contract, we're responsible for paying for that.
Right.
So those were all, so anything that we had contracted prior to the change in the threshold, or the change in the procedure, I guess, had already, they've already been approved. They've already, I mean, we have many contracts where we don't pay up front. We pay at the completion of the service or whenever we receive the goods. So, so that was prior to the threshold. Now, anything that so now, as I understand it, if there's anything we're proposing that's unbudgeted, we would go to the board before you enter a PO, before you contract with that company, and that's what we're doing currently. With this roof contract, we weren't going forward until we received your approval, and there isn't a PO out for that 5,600. So I don't know how, after we've contracted and after we've issued a PO, we then we come to the board for approval.
So I don't think it's the approval of the approved amount of their purchase order, because that's already, it's more of just so that so when we get a purchase order, and you know what I'm talking about, so I'm not gonna go into detail unless I need to. When you have a line item and it says services of January, I mean, I'll go in detail because I have to, I can't keep things from, it's a public meeting. If you have services that were performed and it only says like March 1st through April 30th and it's for $4,000, but there's no line item, there's no detail, invoice detail, that could be anything.
So it specifies the exact number of days in the invoice, and most POs and contracts, or POs don't necessarily have the detail of exactly what's being offered. Usually it's like a sentence that's just like.
Not on the purchase order, I'm referring to the invoice.
So when we get an invoice, the original invoice, I mean, I have to take a look at that specific invoice, but the point being is oftentimes there's just cursory detail. If that's not enough for you, if it's a summary essentially. If you're not sure what that is, then you email me and I'll answer it. So it's similar to in this situation, I responded back with all the detail of what that contracted service provides.
So I don't think we're on the same page. So I'm not referring to the purchase order that states $19,000.
Yeah, the original e-invoice.
I'm looking at the invoice, and it says services from a certain date, which was like, I can't even see it so small, March 1st to say, or April 1st to April 30th, it says a dollar amount. But that doesn't tell us what services were performed. The purchase order does. The purchase order actually doesn't. The purchase order says a certain amount. My point is that I'm not comfortable signing off on an invoice that just says that somebody performed services from April 1st to May 30th without, he said himself that if he was doing an audit and he received that he would ask for additional information. And I guess with me working for the town is a disadvantage because I know the process of a lot of places. And that just wouldn't, that wouldn't fly.
So I think you heard, Matt provided the detail that you requested, but I think what you heard the auditor also say was if the board has a specific format that I would like information provided in, then please let us know that, and we can work to create something that meets everybody's needs.
Oh, we will.
So
But
is
until
this-
then, we still had motions made where there's a $2,500 threshold, yet we're still getting invoices that are $4,000 with just dates on them, and we have no idea what the invoice is for.
Well, so it doesn't, it was something that was approved, was put into place before the threshold, so it doesn't fall under the unbudgeted $2,500. And, sometimes an invoice may not have the level of detail that you're looking for, in which case,
But why doesn't it though? That's my point. Like if you didn't know this person and you received an invoice, you're not gonna make a phone call and be like, what am I paying for?
Well, we do know, and we provide you that information when we were asked. And in the meantime, that's the point. That's the time where you've asked us to hold that check until you get more information, and then we have to provide that to you.
Maybe you guys can
So
tell what I'm trying to explain.
what I noticed on that was the price of, is that the one with the hourly rate of 90 some odd dollars per
$93.
hour?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was 33 hours for $19,000, is that the one?
It's 26 days out of the year.
Because my thing is with that, is I have teachers in this building that are not making $90 an hour. And I know what they do all day, every day. How, it's difficult for me to see that and see that it was a mentor type situation, but at that amount of money, I want to know, what is it, what exactly is it that was done in those hours? And I'm not saying it because it's anything particular, but it is, because the taxpayers just said no to a budget. We had to make cuts across the board. And if we're spending monies at that amount, first of all, where did we get it? Because I didn't know we had that much fat rolling around to just toss it around. And second of all, that is a lot of money, and I want to make sure that whatever it is was being done could not have been done with staff that's already in place.
Yeah, so
And I don't know, so I'm just kind of asking maybe the next meeting guidance on that.
I think I answered it in an email, in that we had a number of vacancies in the special education department, and that's why we brought that person on.
So it was just
to-
special education?
There was some general ed included.
The general ed?
More recently,
Okay.
as things have stabilized a little bit in special
Okay.
education. But I provided that information with exactly what that individual's doing. And $93 an hour that's a contracted service, so that includes no benefits. So we have a number of specialists in this building that we contract out at a much higher rate than $93 an hour, because that's the difference between professional services contracting versus a payroll where you pay a salary and with full benefits, retirement, health insurance, dental insurance, FICA, all those costs.
So, I think the concern is that in the beginning of the year, when we had a concern about these invoices for this consultant, it started off that it was special education, so we really couldn't do anything about it. It's somebody that we need. It's staffing that we're short of because it is special education. And then when the invoice came across this time, it was mentioned it's special education, yet the purchase order was not for special education. It was for general education, So then it no longer became a special ed issue. Now the email turned into that it was for coaching and supporting in the middle school. So I think that's, we're not trying to pick every little thing, but like she said, we do have teachers in here that they do work hard and they don't make this kind of money. And is it something that we can do on our end to fix? I mean, I don't know. I just know that when in the beginning of the year, it was a special ed contract. And then when I said, well, actually the purchase order doesn't say special ed, it says general education. And then it turned in, well, it's not, it's now general education.
No, it's 95% general ed. There was a very small portion that was entered by the administrative assistants on the middle school side, but the vast majority of the services are special education. So I want to make that very clear. It's, like I said, primarily special education. And if, so this was an unbudgeted contracted service. So we needed that to fulfill some special education needs in the special education department. That person also has some expertise across the board in general education as a former principal, former special education director, former teacher. So we had some available funds because we were so short-staffed on the special education side that we took advantage of, because there's some great need, right, when we're looking at some of the challenges that we're facing in the middle school when it comes to many of the issues that you brought forward. So this was actually a really beneficial role. Now in the future, should there be an unbudgeted ad like this, that'll certainly be brought to your attention first, before there's a PO, before there's a contract, and then you can make that decision as to whether you want to bring it forth, because you have that $2,500 threshold. At the time, the board always has the discretion, unless it's legally required, right?
Exactly, and that was the concern at the beginning of the year when we saw all these monies coming through, that we legally had to accept it. I think my whole thing, Matt, is that when we get an invoice and there's been services that were billed out for $3,000 or $4,000 in a month time, I'm gonna feel a lot more comfortable, and it's not because I'm a control freak, but it's because for the last 3 years I've signed off on things like that and never asked questions. And that's not what I was supposed to be doing. I was supposed to be asking questions. So when I get the invoice and there's nothing in there stating what services were done, don't you think it would also be beneficial for you guys if you submit an invoice to us and we see that this person was brought on to do all these improvements? That's gonna make us feel like, awesome, look at all the stuff that they're really putting into place, they really wanna see improvement. But again, there's nothing there to show us.
I don't disagree.
Okay, good, so
I
the
think
more
it's good
detail, the better.
I think it's good to have detail. I want you to understand exactly how you're spending your money. You should absolutely ask those questions.
So when parents do complain to us, we can say, look,
You absolutely,
they brought someone in to do
but
this,
keep
this,
in
and
mind,
this.
but just ask, but the problem is, we receive thousands of invoices.
Well then,
So
I'm
there
not
might,
being
I
sarcastic, but maybe
think,
they need training on it. I'm not being sarcastic, but I know that after a while, if I submitted an invoice and I didn't put details in there and I wanted to get paid, I would be like, oh, I better be very specific.
yeah, I mean, we will certainly try to work with our vendors to ensure there's more detailed, and I think most of the invoices, you do understand, right? This one,
Yeah, well, she's in the
obviously,
building, so
wasn't
it's gonna
enough
be hard.
information for
Yeah.
you to understand. And at which point, you should reach out to me and I'll get that. We can hold the check, we
We
can
did.
hold the process.
You did get back to us, but I don't think there was enough in-depth information on not the special
So are you
education
looking
piece.
for an itemized list of how that person spends every
Yes,
hour
I
they're
do.
in the building?
Yeah.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then, we can ask for that.
Well, you should wanna know that anyways.
I mean,
We
exactly.
see it.
That should be, yes, you
Our
should
administrators know
wanna
how
know
that
that.
time is being used.
Yeah,
I trust that, they observe that. They've worked with that person a lot this year, so.
Listen, we've had people, this year has been people so upset because there was no approval of a social worker, and all we asked was for a list of the billings so that we could show that her position was supported.
That's not true.
That is true. We
A
never
member of
received
the
her
public
billing.
asked for that.
Yes,
And
and we
When we
did too.
move forward, we will
And we
be
did
asking
too.
for it, because we need to know.
So my point is that if, when it comes time to have this person come in again as a consultant, how are we gonna say yes when we don't even know what we just paid the last $19,000 for 26 days? 26 days, $19,000, and I can't tell you one thing she did, and I'm gonna say, yeah, well, just bring her on again. So more documentation gives everyone here on this board comfortable enough to say, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we give this to them? But when you don't give us information,
When you asked for it, I provided it. I'm not certain where the disconnect
you
is. I
did?
provided the
What did she do, Matt?
What is the
What's the email? Do you want me to
position
read it?
cover?
Because you did not provide what she did.
That's up to you.
She did individual support specific team related to universal design and learning, an approach to individualized instruction, spent time as a consultant in the middle school, the principal, coach staff in understanding and unpacking test scores, focused with the curriculum coordinator. But it doesn't tell us what date, you know what I mean, how many hours. All we know is that we have, and it says she made herself available to staff and families well above 8-hour working day.
So what is it you need to know
Just
about what you
itemized,
did?
just so that we know what, so that
Moving forward, definitely.
That's typically not, I mean,
we can move on. I think I made my point. I just,
Moving forward, definitely, and moreover, because we want the budget to pass next year. And we want to have every bit of information that we can to say, yeah, there is a need. Yes, we do need this. And a lot of what you just read, for the regular ed, seems like it's kind of something that could be with these full-time people that we have that could also help with that too. But I don't know, because I don't know exactly what was
That
done.
probably would be true, but you've had a lot of changes, and as a result, you have needed additional support. I stepped in as the principal. I'm back in now as an assistant principal. Colleen came in partway through the year. Things were up and running. You've had a lot of disconnection. And so someone who could come in and be attentive and focused on some of those pieces, pick up some of the gaps, and support your administrators moving forward. You saved a lot of money from mid-August till October when Colleen stepped in. But I didn't get any extra compensation. You saved principal money. You saved on benefits when Colleen stepped in. We more than saved you that $19,000, and my job is to help make sure we're meeting the needs of children. Your principals are here every day. If you don't think we needed that consultant, you would say so. I mean, that's the work. We have to get the work done. We have an obligation to provide services to students. We have an obligation to meet our federal requirements for special education. Sometimes doing that means work in regular education, right, in general education, because those students spend the majority of their day in general education. And so yes, there's a role for a special education person to play in supporting those teachers and making those changes. That person came on board when this board was so upset about what was happening in 5th grade. We knew we had needs there. We needed some support, so we leveraged the dollars that we had available to us in our budget this fall to try to address those concerns in 5th grade. And I think we did that pretty successfully. And so, yes, we now, moving forward, since March, any new change over $2,500 is coming to this board. At the same time, we have work to do, and we spend so much time arguing over little things. If any time you ask a question, we're happy to get the information, but we wind up giving you information, and then we find out a month later, 2 months later, that that's not enough information. We had this conversation in October about how Pat's time was being used, and in November, and again in January, and now we're having it again in May.
right, and I've got 10 different instances.
So I want to know.
You never once mentioned 5th grade, Meredith. You mentioned special education.
Those
You
are my
ju-
emails.
It's
Special
not gonna be,
education was in 5th grade.
It's
That's
not-
why we brought her in.
it's not,
So the coaching that you did at the grade level was in the 5th grade.
do we have a special ed director
Good to
still in this
know.
building?
Good to know.
Yes.
Yes, we do. That's all I'm saying. She's not gone yet. We can still utilize the staff we have.
And we are utilizing the staff we have.
And I think, Meredith, I appreciate everything you just said,
It's not.
but we're on the other side of the table here, where taxpayers want to know, and we want to be able to help support this budget, and to bring it on, and to say we do have a need, and this is what we need. If 5th grade was the point of whatever it was
That was
going
just
on.
one piece that she
Yeah,
worked
and you
with.
needed
She
it.
also did PD with EAs. We have
Yeah.
most of the EAs are special ed EAs to help support their role in the classroom.
Yeah.
Cause there's a lot of lifting to do there, so.
So
And she
back
also
to,
met with parents of kids who,
Yeah.
you know, were,
She
you know.
helps sort out placement, she sat
Thank
in on
you,
IEP
placement.
meetings on a regular basis.
so I'm
She's
gonna
very
shift
involved
this
with
from
kids.
But we
you
also
two
have
because
people on
you
the
are the
board that do it.
principals, and I'm gonna shift it back over to the superintendent SAU 21 office that needs to be able to bring this stuff to us, so that in future, we don't have any questions about it. Okay, wow, yeah, look at all the work you got. So Meredith, I'm not counting on them to bring that, I'm counting on you.
Maria, you're
Moving
always going
forward.
to have questions because
Yep.
the board doesn't know every detail, but that's why we provide you information so you can ask us things you have questions
Yep.
about. I can't read the minds of the 5 board members.
Meredith, hopefully down the road, we won't have to ask questions because we'll be able to trust that we do have the information. And that's all I'm gonna say. You
Yeah.
know what, I don't wanna go down that road again.
Okay. I
This board
just
has
moving
not known a
forward.
lot of stuff.
We're Seabrook, this is Seabrook District, we wanna know, we wanna support, and we cannot do that if we don't know. You want us to ask more, but yet, I remember the day, and I'm gonna say it, when you dumped a whole box pile of emails, of questions
No.
on that table.
The questions were this little pile.
Yeah,
The
well, it was
box-
a big
The
pile,
big pile was our emails to the board.
yeah. So
I'd be happy
moving
to share
forward,
that.
we
The
better
board's
figure that
questions
out.
were this small.
We
So-
need to figure it out.
Then I welcome questions from the board. I
Right.
hope that you do.
We are gonna ask questions, we're
Would be
expected to,
delighted.
so, and hopefully we can meet at common ground to get that in the best interest of our kids.
I agree. Let's change the
All right.
structure that you want.
What
And-
is that, what do you mean?
Huh?
You talked earlier about what you wanted for details for invoices.
We can
We're gonna
ask-
need to know that moving forward
Yeah.
so that we can give you what you're looking for a
Okay.
level of detail.
All right, well, Nat will provide whatever that breakdown is through your SAU office for the,
We have a process
Money.
that we use. If you're looking
Yeah.
to change it, we're gonna want to know what additional details
we're
you're
not
looking
looking to
for.
change it, we're looking to what it was. Like that gentleman said that stood here, what did he say?
He said if the board is looking for changes, it should adjust its policy.
Yep, he did.
And work with administration to do that. So
Yep.
we're looking for guidance from you.
Yeah.
So you will need to provide some.
Okay.
And I would also point out that
Huh? Yeah,
we've had one question on one invoice. I think the vast majority of our invoices have claim information.
They do
yeah, and
that.
if they don't,
do.
we'll ask.
And my apologies for the one invoice, and I answered that via email, but, I mean, I think by and large, I'd like to think that what we provide you from an invoice perspective is pretty
And when you
Oh,
don't,
I hope so.
right, and when you don't, I contact you.
I hope so. So, yeah, when the other 2 board members are here, we can kind of discuss on how to move forward with that. And in the meantime, so we are on the copier and printer lease award of bid. Do we have a motion for that? Questions, motion, second?
Who made the motion?
Nobody made a motion
Okay,
yet.
thank you.
Would you like me to summarize?
Sure, please.
Go ahead.
So, so we did conclude the bid process for the 5-year copier printer lease agreement. So this RFP was a cooperative SAU-wide bid, and this helps us to achieve economies of scale and optimal pricing. So previously, there were each school had disparate lease agreements with different types of machines and different terms. So we were able to achieve about 30% savings by utilizing a total SAU-wide bid process to gain optimal pricing. We are recommending award of bid to RICO in the amount of $15,715.06 for a 5-year lease agreement. And that is an item that's included in the 24-25 operating budget. I will note that there are 2 wordy motions. They are wordy because this is a municipal lease, and what a municipal lease is it's not like a traditional lease that you think of, like what we think of on the consumer side, where you You lease a car and then return it after 3 years. Municipal leases, it's actually more like financing. So it's the 5 years and then we own the equipment at the end of that 5-year term. Both motions, so the first motion is to approve the lease. It's very wordy because it needs to abide by IRS guidelines. The second lease is to authorize me to enter into that lease agreement. So you can certainly read that full motion, or you can motion as presented.
Can I just have a, so if, I'm just saying, if the study ends up going to the voters and they decide to withdraw, how does that work if we have a 5-year lease?
Yeah, so that would still be in effect. It'll be contracted, so we're gonna have 6 contracts.
Yeah.
So the bid results combine us as an SAU, but the contract is individual by school district.
Okay.
So you'll be able to maintain this lease agreement, and then in the 5 years, even then it'd be a different situation at that point.
Yeah, just asking. Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
it
we
doesn't really
have to be
affect us.
very careful of tying us into
Contracts, yeah.
anything, because we
You
have the
never know.
committee, with our committee doing their work, and the community has the last vote, so
Yeah,
I just wanna make sure I'm not
vote on
tying
something
my
that's gonna
hands.
tie them up.
So,
No, there's no
okay, good.
issues.
We should keep that in mind.
Alright, yeah, so, motion as presented,
I'll make that motion.
second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then we need a motion to authorize Matt, as presented to handle the, make motion?
Yes.
Okay, second,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's done. Moving along, we have lunch price recommendations.
This kills me.
Free lunch, right?
Yeah, I
So-
say that too.
So we are, the board is required to set the lunch and breakfast pricing on an annual basis. So we do have, we are proposing a price increase of 10 cents for lunch to $2.60, and 5 cents for breakfast to $1.80. That accounts for some pretty substantial increases in the costs for both our food items as well as supplies.
Did we have a deficit? Or what reason, and I know you said to offset, but have we fallen into the red at any point? Are we in the green?
So so we're not in a deficit.
Okay.
This is just an incremental change or increase that we typically look to slightly increase.
So how does it work for free lunches? If a student, because I wasn't sure that I read this right, I thought there was recently an increase per student. I'm trying to find where it was. So when somebody applies to, yeah, right here it is right here. It says enhanced free and reduced price meal per pupil aid from, it looks like it went from $1,933 to $2,300 per student. It says in 23.
I'm not certain what you're looking at.
So it says number of students in New Hampshire school contributes to declining, and then it says down here that there was an increase in funding for free lunch. Am I looking at the wrong thing?
That's adequacy aid, that's separate from the federal lunch program.
Okay, so how does,
So part of the adequacy formula is based on students that are part of free and reduced.
okay,
It's free and there's a formula that you receive additional adequacy based on number of students with free and reduced, special education students, and students, ELL students. As far as the National School Lunch Program, families submit an application to receive, which based on federal poverty guidelines, they can either qualify for free or a reduced lunch, which we are roughly like in the probably about 46% across the entire school district that qualify for free and reduced lunch.
I'm just, it says state budget investments and policy changes in education for 24-25. And here it says boost boosted state funding amounts per pupil, school pupil from 3866 to 4100, but then it says enhanced free and reduced price meal per pupil aid from 1,933 to 2,300 per student.
So-
Again, that's not for the formula. That's
So
separate.
so we receive adequacy at
Yeah.
the state, and they base a portion of that formula on the number of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch.
So there's
it's-
no
so
set
they-
amount.
So that, I'm sorry?
So do we get a set amount per student
Yes,
for free lunch?
but not for the lunch program.
Right, but
That's
do we
for-
have
that's
a
for
lunch program?
adequacy.
Do we have a federal lunch program where we receive a certain amount of money per student for free lunch?
So we get reimbursed per meal.
Okay, and how much do we get reimbursed?
I think a free is like three, a couple bucks. I
But is
don't
it
know.
more than what we charge for students that are not? The reason
I
I'm
believe
asking
it's
for a reason.
more.
Okay, so if it's more,
No, we charge them 250.
I'm 99.9% certain that that what we get reimbursed for free and reduced is more than what we charge
Okay.
for paid lunch.
so then we have money left over.
Well, those are two separate groups, so we don't charge the kids that qualify for
Right.
free lunch. It's only the students that don't qualify.
Yeah, and the cost of meals don't cover all of your labor costs. They cover basically the food itself. They don't cover all of your labor and your benefits.
We know that, because we have a green and no charge for it, so that's common sense.
So how
But
much
I
do we
think
have
what
left
And
over?
Kelly's
that's
saying.
our recommendation, if you'd like
Yeah,
to keep it the
Right,
same.
we don't
it's
have to move
completely
it,
up to
and
you.
I'm just concerned, and I don't know if everybody's noticed out there, but people are really struggling, and I know in Seabrook, all I've heard about is the tax bills and the sewer and water tripling, and people are really worried, and so even though they might not be eligible for a free and reduced lunch, they might be right on the line. And I know it's not a lot of money here, and we bring in extra money from the federal government or whoever compensates even more than what we're charging. So, I don't know if it's something that we don't have to do right now, that it might be a good idea to hold off, to give people a break and, make sure the kids are eating, so.
I agree with 100% with the sentiment, but there are certainly families that may not qualify,
Right.
but there is a need, and we try to keep
Right
it
on
so they're
that.
$1 less
Line.
than some of the other districts. Because we try to keep it as low as possible,
Yeah.
and then just try to keep up slightly with inflation. But, I personally am completely comfortable if you want to maintain it, the current year pricing.
I'd like to keep it the
that's-
same for right now.
I'm not concerned, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, then let's keep it the same.
Yeah, just for this year and see,
Maybe revisit it next year.
Yeah, if it was something that you were saying we're in the red,
We're
we can't
struggling.
pay, we're struggling, we've gotta do something here, a different story, but if we're okay and we can get by for the year, then let's do it.
Yeah, we need to incrementally increase it, but it's perfectly fine to take a year off.
We did last year.
Okay, you do, so we could take a year off then.
Let's do that,
So
yeah.
that'd be 250 and 175.
Yes,
Or you can just motion to maintain the current pricing.
Okay, so a motion to maintain the current prices,
I make the motion that we maintain the current prices for the school lunches and breakfast.
in a second?
I'll second.
And one thing I wanna add to that, I do wanna say this, if there is any way, and I don't know how other schools do this, but I noticed that like once a week or once a month, they get like Domino's and different pizza brought in, and we used to years and years ago, and I don't know if there's a way to compensate for that, but just kind of food for thought, and other than that, I'm just gonna leave it and ask for a,
I'm sorry, so
all in favor.
you're
No,
saying
just kind of,
you want-
yeah, can you look at how the other schools can make that fit within the cost and, maybe treat the kids once a month or something with that type of deal? If we can, just kind of look at it. Cause I've been asked by 1,000 people, can you do something about pizza? Well, not really, but we can ask if we can look at a different treat.
There are stricter USDA requirements
For
as far
Seabrook?
as the nutrition. No, the
Federal
overall.
program.
Well,
So-
the other schools within have that.
I I mean, I'll see what
caveat.
the options are. I don't-
SAU 90 does, I know that, and I feel like I might have saw that on Northampton, but anyways, just look at it. Not a big conversation to be had, but kind of look at it for the treat, and, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, yeah, we do.
When you do the board meeting first.
So the resignations are public.
Okay, okay, so go ahead. The resignations are public. Meredith wants to read them off.
Okay, well, you have a resignation from Brittany Brearley effective the end of the 23-24 school year, and you received in public comment a resignation from Erica Rosenson.
Okay, motion to do we do it now, or should we do it when we come out?
You should do it now.
You know what?
I'd hold off.
Yeah, can we hold off and have, non-public and then come out and, accept the resignations like we usually have done?
Well, resignations are typically only done in non-public if there's
I'm not saying it's gonna be done.
I'm just saying if there's a retirement
Yeah,
statement attached.
yeah, no, I'm not saying that, I'm saying we'll hold off when we come out for the vote on that. And then, motion to go into non-public.
Under,
RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2. What letter should we use, Meredith?
Well,
personnel.
Hiring
you have hiring.
and personnel.
Yep.
Okay, so what letters?
So I'm assuming you want C, and I'm assuming you want E.
Okay, okay, all right, and we need a roll call for that?
C. I'm sorry, are you skipping over the FOSS part of the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, we got these on here.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, and then,
At 7:01 PM.
Yes.
yep. And so,
Who made the motion?
to go in, Kelly,
Kelly?
is on the second.
Second.
And then roll call. Thank everybody for coming tonight.
Jennifer?
Keep coming.
Kelly?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Figure out how to fire me.
That's what this is.